Chapter 193, Annihilation 3. The sun was shining. A gust of cool breeze drifted over, cooling the summer. When the cool breeze came off the engagement ceremony at Flowing Water Villa, it was a bone-piercing chill. All of them watched as the young man and girl took their leave while the black-attired men slowly closed up the blockade. "You want to destroy Lu family?" Lu Jingshan clenched his long sword tightly with a ghastly look as he swept his gaze across the black, imposing old man and maniac Ji. "Miracle Dr. Wang cured my son. You can only blame your grandson for this." Maniac Ji drew his long saber slowly as his body gave off an immense killing aura. Unexpected. A mere miracle doctor of Rivertown could summon two inborn experts. What a surprise. Lu Jingshan let out distasteful laughter. Apparently, he misunderstood that the people of Dragon Sect also owed Wang Xian their favor. He swept his gaze across all the people. "Destroying Lu family? I'm afraid it is not that simple. I'll wipe out your entire family instantly." Mo Qinglong looked at Lu Jingshan with a disdainful look. As he spoke, he struck. "Run! Get out of here! Get out of here!" Lan family and the rest of the guests fled in all directions with fear when they saw how the situation developed. The battle of inborn experts was not something they could participate in. If they got involved, they'd either get seriously injured or die. "Why didn't you tell me when such serious things like this happened to you?" Wan Xian and Lan Qingwei strode to one of the rooms and turned a deaf ear to the devastating screams behind them. "Why should I?" Lan Qingwei looked over her shoulder and returned the question. Wan Xian drew a bitter smile on his face. It seemed like Lan Qingwei still bore grudges over his choice of Guan Shuqing. "But for what you did today, I'll forgive you." Lan Qingwei hesitated as she saw his smile. "But Lu family. Leave the Lu family to them. Don't worry. I'm not afraid of them." Wang Xian chuckled and continued. "We'll settle your family's affairs together. When people learn about what happened today, Lingwei sect and Zhou family wouldn't dare to play any tricks. If they did, there's nothing to fear either." "Thank you, Xiao Xian." Lan Qingwei stopped and looked at him, as she was touched. Wang Xian grinned. "A red wedding gown would suit you better. Wear the red one next time." Lan Qingwei slightly blushed when she heard his comment. She reached out her hands to hug him gently. Wang Xian revealed a thrilled expression as he hugged her tightly. He whispered in her ear, "You must be tired from the last few days. Why don't we enjoy ourselves for a few days? I'll take you out to sea. Sure, I'll call my parents to tell them that I'm having a break for the next few days." Lan Qingwei struggled out of his hug and stretched herself. She then ran to the room next door with a beaming face and took out her phone to call her parents. "Hello, Qingwei? Are you okay?" Lan Qingyue's father held his phone as he watched Lu Jingshan spit out fresh blood in the air. He asked this with trepidation. "Dad, I'm going out with Xiao Xian for a few days. These last few days have been tiring for me. I want to have a good rest." Lan Qingwei spoke in a joyful mood. "Sure, go and have fun with Miracle Dr. Wang. You don't have to worry about anything." Lan Qingyue's father quickly agreed. Since his daughter had gotten such capable boyfriend, why the hell would they want to continue with the political marriage with Lu family? What's more, they were almost dead now. So long as they befriended Miracle Dr. Wang, Lan family was not afraid of Zhou family and Lingwei sect. Besides, the Miracle Dr. Wang was, obviously, much easier to get along with than the Lu family. "I'm done, Xiao Xian. Let's go. I want to relax for a few days." Lan Qingwei changed out of her wedding gown and came to Wang Xian with thrills all over her face. She looked like she was a little carefree girl. "Let's go. We'll go out to the sea. The yacht that I bought a few days ago just arrived today," Wang Xian said with a smile. "Sure, let's go to the sea. I'm going to swim, surf and fish," Lan Qingwei exclaimed with excitement. "Sure, let's go." Wang Xian held her hand and went outside. Lan Qingwei was only 22 years old now, and she should not be responsible for the entire group. She should not endure a marriage that she hated. She should be learning and having fun in school without a single worry. Wow, what a beautiful villa and yacht! They took a car to the villa that sat right next to the sea. Lan Qingwei was animated as soon as she saw the villa and the yacht. I'll pick up something from the house. As Wang Xian spoke, he went into the villa and picked up swimsuits, red wine, tea leaves, and some supplies. Qingwei, let's head out to the sea. Wang Xian brought her to the yacht. What a beautiful yacht! It's much better than the one my dad bought. Lan Qingwei looked at the luxury yacht that was over 30 meters long with an ebullient expression. The yacht was divided into 2 levels. The ground floor had a sofa, kitchen, dining area, and it was quite spacious. There were 4 rooms on the second floor. A 30-meter-long yacht had a floor area that was larger than an average house. Xiao Xian, can you drive a yacht? Lan Qingwei asked as she roamed around the yacht. Ahem, I think there should be driving instructions. I'm quite smart, so there shouldn't be any problems. Driving a yacht required a license too. But Wang Xian believed he could handle it. Haha, let's do it together. Lan Qingwei followed behind Wang Xian with much interest. Wang Xian took the operating manual. He was examining the brand new yacht with a beaming face. The oil tank is full. Let's set out now. With a smiling face, Wang Xian began to operate the yacht as it sailed slowly out to the sea. Be careful, Xiao Xian. You're maneuvering it without a license, Lan Qingwei said, grinning. Haha, don't worry. Leave this to me. Let's go somewhere shallow first before we go further out. We can enjoy ourselves for the next 2 to 3 days, said Wang Xian with a smile. Sure. The yacht continued to sail across the sea. As a first-timer, Wang Xian did not dare to drive it too fast. But without knowing, he actually drove them to somewhere near the Dragon Sect Island. He hesitated and stopped the yacht. Let's stop and check out this place. Okay, I want to catch some fish. How about having fish for dinner? There is diving equipment on the yacht. We can dive and catch some lobsters for dinner. I don't dare to do that. Is the water deep over here? Will there be any sharks? Haha, how can there be? Let's go. I'll take you out for a swim. Wang Xian and Lan Qingwei changed into diving suits and dived underwater freely. Swimming, diving, and fishing. Wang Xian even caught some lobsters and crabs for dinner. Chapter 194, Fish Tornado and the Ichthyosaur. Wang Xian accompanied Lan Qingwei till 9+ at night. He had initially intended to sleep with the lady but was ruthlessly pushed out with the doors locked. Wang Xian smiled bitterly as he walked to the first floor. Walking to the deck, he looked to the faraway seas. He could sense that Lan Qingwei had fallen asleep on the second floor. She had barely slept over the last 2 days and was finally able to get a good rest today. It will be at least 10 hours before Lan Qingwei wakes up, Wang Xian thought to himself. He hesitated for a moment before removing his clothes and throwing them onto the sofa. Bam! Wang Xian leaped into the skies and dived into the seas. Moving his body, he transformed into a 6-meter-long divine dragon in an instant. Prime Minister Turtle and Roving Girl are just around the corner. Let's summon them over. Wang Xian looked around and let out a dragon roar to the surroundings. Growl! Growl! Soon replies were heard. Wang Xian could see Prime Minister Turtle, Roving Girl, Roving Lobster, and Roving Heavens with his group of devil monkeys swimming towards him. At the forefront, the 9 venomous sea snakes were the fastest as they approached Wang Xian at an astonishing speed. Greetings, Dragon King! Prime Minister Turtle, Roving Heavens, Roving Girl, Roving Lobster, and the rest bowed respectfully in front of Wang Xian. Wang Xian looked at the 800 devil monkeys and could sense their improvements in strength. He couldn't help but reveal a satisfied look. Behind Prime Minister Turtle and Roving Lobster, there was a group of sea turtles and large lobsters following them. These sea turtles and lobsters looked extremely lively. The sizes of these lobsters were all around a meter, and their 2 huge claws looked extremely destructive. These were all subordinates of the Prime Minister Turtle and Roving Lobster. Let's make use of the night to go deeper into further sea regions to look for resources required for leveling up, Wang Xian thought to himself. Wang Xian looked at the yacht a short distance away. He hesitated for a moment before ordering the Prime Minister Turtle. "Drag the yacht along!" "Yes, Dragon King!" Prime Minister Turtle nodded his head and swam below the yacht. Although the 30 meters long yacht was heavy, Prime Minister Turtle was able to easily drag it along on the water surface. Wang Xian was a little worried about Lan Qingwei. He went to the second floor quietly, and used dragon energy to calm her body and make her enter deep sleep. If there weren't huge disturbances, she would only wake up after 10 hours. "Let's head towards the deeper sea region." Wang Xian dived into the seas once again and gave his orders. Wang Xian had searched the entire Bohai Sea. Up to this point, other than the huge level 12 devil flowers that weren't finished off, the other areas had been combed. The Bohai Sea wasn't big. With their speed, they only used 3 hours to reach the Yellow Sea. Wang Xian noticed a sudden and drastic change in the underwater world ahead of him. The depth of the Yellow Sea was approximately 40 meters deep on average. The deeper region could reach a depth of over 80 meters. The entire Yellow Sea was very broad and was several times the size of the Bohai Sea. At this moment, the region where Wang Xian was at was approximately 50 meters deep. This was the first time he came to such a deep sea region. Under the waters, it was pitch black at night. Seagrass was common and the variety of fish was much higher than the Bohai Sea. "This place is much more comfortable. I always feel that I could barely move in the Bohai Sea." Wang Xian swayed his body within the 50 meters deep sea as he swam around freely. There's a school of sharks ahead." Wang Xian squinted his eyes and focused on the 20-odd sharks 1,000 meters away. These sharks were all 4 to 5 meters long and gave off a violent aura as they swam domineeringly in the sea. Wang Xian revealed a faint smile. He got moving and swam towards the school of sharks directly. Big white sharks, level 5. Extractable dragon energy, 534. That's over 10,000 points of dragon energy from 20 sharks. Haha. This is something the Bohai Sea couldn't match up to. Wang Xian was thrilled. Sea monsters in deep waters weren't simply a myth. The resources in the entire Yellow Sea were at least a dozen or even a few dozen times more than the Bohai Sea. When my subordinates and I get stronger, I'll head to the real seas for an adventure. I wonder if there will be terrifying creatures at a depth of 10,000 feet underwater? Are there other races living in the pitch-black darkness within the seas? Are ancient marine animals still surviving at the bottom of the seas? Wang Xian was getting excited from these thoughts. The sea regions were largely unexplored by humans. In the near future, he would be exploring the entire seas and become the ruler of the seas. Wang Xian was filled with ambition. He let out a soft roar and his subordinates swam over quickly. "Let's explore the Yellow Sea," Wang Xian ordered. His gaze was fixed in front of him as he led his subordinates to conquer the unknown sea region. The seabed of the Yellow Sea wasn't too different from the Bohai Sea. Both had flat grounds and areas where it was a little more mountainous. However, the scenery of the Yellow Sea was grander and more beautiful than the Bohai Sea. Devour, devour, devour. There were many species of fish around him. There were little yellow croaker, hairtail fish, Pacific mackerel, Spanish mackerel, yellow drumfish, slender shadfish, Pacific herrings, pomfrets, codfish, and many others. Moving around, Wang Xian devoured all the fish he came across. In just 2 hours he had gained more than 17,000 points of dragon energy. Just 42,000 points of dragon energy more and I'll level up. Let's try to increase my level by the end of the night. Wang Xian thought to himself and turned his attention ahead. The area in front of him was different from the darkness of the surrounding seas. It was full of marine animals that were glowing. The glowing marine animals illuminated the bottom of the seas. Moving his body, Wang Xian headed towards it. When he approached the illuminated region, he was shocked by what he saw. Fish tornado! It's a humongous fish tornado! There were at least a few 100,000 to a few million fish gathered here and swimming in circles like a tornado under the water. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and stared fervently at this fish tornado. If I devour all the fish here, I'll gain at least a few 100,000 points of dragon energy. Wang Xian's eyes lit up and he immediately ordered, "Surround the entire school of fish!" The entire fish tornado spanned over 1,000 meters. Wang Xian wasn't able to dominate the entire school with his dragon power. Moreover, he noticed that there were several unique fish species in the middle of the fish tornado. They had a terrifying size and every one of them was at least 7 to 8 meters. They also had flat heads with sharp mouths. Their mouths were approximately 2 meters long with rows of sharp teeth exposed that gave off an eerie glow. "What's that fish?" Wang Xian was filled with doubt. These 4 to 5 unique fish swam in the middle of the fish tornado like the kings of the school. Around them, densely packed herrings, Pacific mackerel and Spanish mackerel seemed to be honoring them as their kings. Wang Xian swayed his tail and started his hunt. This would be his first battle towards conquering the Yellow Sea. Chapter 195, Ichthyosaurs. There were thousands of species hidden in the deep sea, occupying 70% of planet Earth, and the secrets were far more than any human could imagine. The ocean has always been an unexplored area for humans. Wang Xian stared at the fish tornado before him with fervent eyes and a relaxed expression on his face. 800 devil monkeys went up slowly to surround the fish tornado. Food hunting. This was the way for any living beings to evolve. Whoever can hunt to the last would be the most powerful being remaining. Wang Xian jerked his divine dragon's body and charged out to the school of fish at a daunting speed. Dragon power! Boom! An invisible force encompassed the area, spanning 1,000 kilometers as though the king had arrived. The entire school of swirling fish suddenly froze. Wang Xian opened his mouth and devoured the school of fish before him. Herring, Pacific mackerels and Spanish mackerels converted to dragon energy in his belly at a rapid rate. Boom! The entire fish tornado was in chaos as they fled crazily in all directions. Located in the middle of the school of fish, another type of fish teetered their huge bodies as they stared at Wang Xian with a ferocious look. They swayed their tails and charged towards him. Sensing the impetus of the 5 odd-looking fish types, Wang Xian revealed a surprising look on his face. The 5 odd-looking fish were covered with layers of palm-sized fish scales which looked heavy in the water. Ichthyosaurs, Level 9. Extractable Dragon Energy, 49,642. Ichthyosaurs. It's the legendary Ichthyosaurs! When the 5 odd-looking fish were dashing towards him, their information appeared in Wang Xian's mind. Ichthyosaurs belong to an ancient fish group. According to the current historical study, they could have even existed way before the dinosaurs. Based on the records, a large Ichthyosaurs could reach more than 20 meters long. The current 5 Ichthyosaurs before him were only about 10 meters. 5 Ichthyosaurs could provide me with more than 200,000 points of dragon energy. Haha, not bad! Wang Xian was thrilled as he launched an attack at the 5 Ichthyosaurs without any fear. Bam! A Ichthyosaur swam fast and furiously towards him with a gaping mouth that was 3 meters wide. Within its mouth, it was densely packed with teeth that looked terrifying. Ka ka ka! Wang Xian stretched out his metal-like dragon claw which scratched the top of that Ichthyosaur's mouth. Hiss! The razor-edged dragon claw ripped the mouth of the Ichthyosaurs. Blood splattered in all directions. Growl! Upon seeing that Wang Xian had wounded their companion, the other 4 Ichthyosaurs opened their mouths and attempted to bite him. Grew! Wang Xian swung his tail, shaking the surroundings violently. Soon after, 4 solidified water balloons appeared at his tail. Each of them was 1 meter in size, giving off an emerald blue luster in the sea. Bam, 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 bam! 4 water balloons emerged in front of the 4 Ichthyosaurs instantly, and landed in their mouths. Boom! The water balloons exploded, and the 4 Ichthyosaurs were dripping blood from their mouths. Wang Xian stretched out his dragon claw at one of the Ichthyosaurs again. SSSS. Another sound of a tear was heard. Given Wang Xian's current level, he possessed the same strength as an average level 11 marine animal. 5 Ichthyosaurs were under his brutal torture. I don't have time to waste on you. Wang Xian saw millions of fish fleeing away in all directions. Even with 800 devil monkeys surrounding the area, many fish still managed to make their escape. He made a swift move and inflicted severe damage to the 4 Ichthyosaurs. He then moved around to devour the escaping fish. Dragon power encompassed the area as he swallowed the fish and converted them into dragon energy. After half an hour, there were no more fish left, only dead silence. Wang Xian made a swift move and came to the 5 Ichthyosaurs. They were bigger than Wang Xian by many times with 10-meter-long bodies. He opened his mouth and fed on the Ichthyosaurs. He only managed to swallow them all after chewing a dozen times. Haha, my dragon energy increased by 300,000 points instantly. I still need about 100,000 points before I can hit level 7. Wang Xian revealed his thrill. The higher level he got to, the better he could manage his control of the 5 elements. His strength would get stronger too. A level up was not solely about upgrading strength. It was more than that. Let's go. I must level up to 7 by the end of today. Wang Xian commanded his subordinates and swam forward. The surroundings were full of kelp while some glowing jellyfish were floating around. The sea was not as dark as it seemed at a depth of 50 meters deep. In the ocean, those deep waters with thousands of meters of depth were the place where darkness stayed. Sunlight could only reach hundreds of meters. How wonderful it would be if I could find other Ichthyosaurs. Wang Xian had been swimming forward. Probably due to the fish tornado, the number of fish within dozens of miles was significantly reduced. What's that? A shipwreck? I mean a bunch of shipwrecks? Wang Xian was slightly stupefied by a large number of shipwrecks in front of him. The sails were broken, lying around disorderly in the sea. Some of the ships had half of their bodies caught at the bottom of the seabed. Furthermore, Wang Xian noticed some strange plants were growing on some of the ships. It was rather peculiar. There's something strange about the place before us. Just then, Wang Xian narrowed his eyes. He peered at the front, then to the back. Both of them gave him a different vibe as though they were 2 distinct regions. Dragon King, it's the territory of other creatures ahead of us. Roving Heavens took his rod to Wang Xian and told Wang Xian with wary eyes, gazing at the place before them. Territory of other creatures? Wang Xian looked at Roving Heavens with some doubts. There are many creatures in the ocean. They will gather and occupy a region. Based on the size of the region, it will reflect the strength of the group. Roving Heavens observed the place ahead and said with a stern look, the region ahead is not any smaller than our devil monkeys. Since other marine life does not dare to come close, it means that a dominant race exists in this place. Oh? Wang Xian nodded his head slowly. Most of the living creatures were living in groups. They could occupy one place and rule the land. Same logic for the ocean. An eerie silence filled the area ahead. Obviously, it was the territory of a race. The battle of territory? Wang Xian looked behind as the devil monkeys gathered behind him. Prime Minister Turtle pulled the yacht to the side and came to the bottom of the sea. Roving Girl and Roving Lobster were gazing ahead. We fight! Forward! Wang Xian was also bursting with fighting spirit as he swam slowly forward. Roving Heavens, Prime Minister Turtle, 9 venomous sea snakes, and the 800 devil monkeys were following solemnly behind him as they marched towards the region. Who dares to step into the Ichthyosaurs family's territory? Just then, a muffled voice was heard. The voice was not human, but a unique transmission through spirits. Wang Xian could understand such spirit waves. He stopped and looked ahead. Roving Heavens and the rest stopped their motions too. A gigantic Ichthyosaur, 15 meters long, floated out from one of the shipwrecks with a domineering demeanor. Chapter 196 War. Get out of our territory or die! This Ichthyosaur had its attention fixed on Wang Xian and his subordinates. His gaze was cold and filled with bloodlust. So strong. It's much stronger than the 5 Ichthyosaurs we met previously. Feeling the aura from the Ichthyosaur, Wang Xian was a little shocked. This Ichthyosaur had clearly manifested intelligence, and its level would definitely not be any lower than 10. It had a huge body that spanned 15 meters and gave off chilly vibes. "Surrender or die!" Wang Xian stared at that Ichthyosaur and growled. Growl, growl, growl. When Ichthyosaur heard Wang Xian, it immediately lifted his head and let out 3 cries. Waves emitted from his mouth and propagated to the surroundings. At that instant, the quiet region seemed to have livened up. In a sunken ship a small distance away, 2 Ichthyosaurs that were approximately 3 to 4 meters long swam out. From a 40-50 meter long sunken ship, an Ichthyosaur that spanned over 10 meters swam out. At the same time, Ichthyosaurs swam out from various sunken ships in the surroundings. Among them, the smallest was 2 to 3 meters long while the larger ones spanned 15 to 16 meters. At the very end, a 17 to 18 meters long Ichthyosaur swam out from the depth of the waters. Gradually, the school of Ichthyosaurs appeared at the location 500 meters ahead of Wang Xian. Ichthyosaurs of various sizes added up to 600 to 700 of them. Among them, there were 20 to 30 of them that were approximately 10 meters long, 3 that were approximately 15 meters and 1 that was 17 to 18 meters long. "How dare you barge into our territory? I'm going to eat you!" That 17 to 18 meters long Ichthyosaur stared fervently at Wang Xian. It could feel a strong attraction from Wang Xian. Its instincts were telling him that if he could devour this strange creature, it would be able to evolve further. "Kill!" That huge Ichthyosaur swayed its large tail and ordered. In that instant, all the Ichthyosaurs opened their wide mouths and attacked Wang Xian. How ruthless of them to attack us directly! Seeing the 17 to 18 meters long Ichthyosaur, Wang Xian moved his tail slowly. "Kill!" A dragon roar burst from Wang Xian. "Growl!" Roving Heavens lifted the rod in his hand and let out a long roar. "Growl!" The group of devil monkeys behind it also let out a loud roar while emitting their bloodlust. SSSSSSSSS. The 9 venomous sea snakes lifted their heads and spat out their tongues. BZZZ. Prime Minister Turtle, who had been lying on the seabed, shook a little as his body was covered by the mud gradually. Roving Lobster stood up and extended his huge claws that glowed with a metallic shine. Bang! Wang Xian headed for the Ichthyosaur directly ahead of him. Behind him, Roving Heavens, 9 venomous sea snakes, Prime Minister Turtle and the group of devil monkeys also made their moves. There were over 1,000 animals from both sides, but the aura they gave off seemed to be 10 times their sizes. Swish, swish, swish! Wang Xian swayed his tail and 2 huge water balls gathered behind him. Each water ball was approximately 2 meters and was shot directly at the Ichthyosaur at the front of the school. "I'm going to devour you!" The 17 to 18 meters long Ichthyosaur wasn't moved by Wang Xian's attacks at all. It flapped its tail rapidly and swam past Wang Xian's head directly. Bam! The water balls exploded. Ichthyosaur, Level 11. Extractable Dragon Energy, 293,244. Level 11. When Wang Xian saw the level of this Ichthyosaur, he wasn't surprised at all. He kept his composure as his dragon claws glowed in a metallic shine and attacked that Ichthyosaur. The 17 to 18 meters long Ichthyosaur had a head that was 5 to 6 meters long. On it, densely packed teeth were the size of a fist and looked extremely sharp. Its entire head had similar skin to a crocodile with protruding portions on the head. Its size was more than 3 times that of Wang Xian. Growl! Bam! Sounds of collision propagated as Wang Xian's dragon claws clashed with its mouth. Its teeth were ripped off directly by Wang Xian's dragon claw. The Ichthyosaur didn't let go of Wang Xian's dragon claws. In response, Wang Xian emitted flames from his claws and forced it to relax its grip rapidly. "Take this rod from me!" At this moment, Roving Heavens and the rest were clashing with the school of Ichthyosaurs. Roving Heavens lifted its metal rod like the great sage equaling heaven in television shows and smashed directly at the 15 meters long Ichthyosaur. Limitless gravel! At the bottom of the seas, a wave of yellow earth suddenly engulfed the dozen Ichthyosaurs ahead. Amidst the yellow earth were solid stones that were sent towards the school of Ichthyosaur directly. Water control, water imprisonment! Behind the group, Roving Girl moved her palms as ropes of water restricted the mouths of the Ichthyosaurs. As she waved her hands, droplets of water appended themselves to the devil monkeys rushing towards the earth sent by Prime Minister Turtle and prevented their vision from being blurred by the yellow earth. 800 devil monkeys leaped and attacked towards the Ichthyosaurs. However, the most horrifying of them all were the 9 venomous sea snakes. Their speed was astonishing and they used potent venom. When moving at full speed, the surrounding Ichthyosaurs couldn't keep up with their speed at all. With every bite, venom was injected into the Ichthyosaurs that stiffened their bodies. In fact, Ichthyosaurs that were smaller than 10 meters were poisoned to death directly. The 9 venomous sea snakes were like assassins and were extremely frightening. "You guys are seeking your own deaths." Picking up the scent of blood from the surroundings, the 17 to 18 meters long Ichthyosaur looked over and saw its kind being slain. Its eyes gradually turned red. It was a creepy shade of red that had a drop of blue liquid within it. Wang Xian was shocked to see the change in the eyes of the Ichthyosaur and increased his alertness. Growl! The Ichthyosaur stared at Wang Xian with bloodthirst as it attacked him. Wang Xian kept his composure and met it with his dragon claws. Bang! At this moment, the Ichthyosaur initiated the attack with its tail. The swing of its tail brought strong current that was of at least several tons of force. Wang Xian was unmoved and swayed his own tail. A huge current started forming as it smashed towards the Ichthyosaur's tail. Growl! Seeing that its tail attack was stopped by Wang Xian, the Ichthyosaur opened its mouth and bit towards Wang Xian's body. Die! Wang Xian waved his dragon's claws downwards towards the large and extended jaws of the Ichthyosaur. Caw caw caw! Wang Xian's dragon claws opened a long wound on the Ichthyosaur's head. However, the Ichthyosaur managed to bite onto his tail. An intense pain sensation cruised in his body. Wang Xian immediately broke free and swam backwards. The Ichthyosaur felt the pain and retreated in a hurry. Why did the Ichthyosaur choose to bite my tail of all places? Seeing his dragon tail that was about to break into two, Wang Xian's face sank. Energy of the azure dragon covered his wounds on his tail, and he was recovering gradually. Wang Xian looked at the Ichthyosaur and noticed the blood-red eyes were shimmering in a brighter glow as it stared intensely at him. Chapter 197 Victory. The eyes of the Ichthyosaur must have a special ability. Wang Xian stared at its eyes. Somehow he had a feeling of getting seen through by them. It was a peculiar kind of feeling. It was as though it could see his weakness and attack it. When the creatures hit level 10 and 11, they will develop their own special ability. In particular, level 11, as they would definitely possess their own ability for sure. Wang Xian pondered. Level 10 was already an inborn expert, while level 11 was considered to be a realm above inborn realm. This was beyond an average human's scope since they possessed unique means. The Ichthyosaur in front had a special pair of eyes which could spot any weaknesses. Roar! Just when Wang Xian was having his thoughts, the Ichthyosaur relaunched its attack. The gigantic mouth tried to bite his tail again. Due to the difference in mass, Wang Xian had difficulties dodging it. Looking for my weakness? Wang Xian squinted his eyes. With a violent jerk, the colors on his body began to change. Eventually, he turned to a metallic, golden divine dragon. His entire body was gold, giving off a faint metallic shine in the sea. Metal Divine Dragon had a weaker defense, but a more powerful attack than the Earth Divine Dragon. When the Ichthyosaur saw the transformation of Wang Xian, it revealed a shock in its eyes. Through its vision, it was shocked to find out that the fellow before it seemed like a piece of metal without any weaknesses. Even his eyes were golden pupils. All the body parts were indestructible. Sure enough, this Ichthyosaur must have read the weakness on me. Wang Xian observed the expression of the Ichthyosaur and spoke to himself. He stretched out his dragon claw, opened his golden dragon mouth, and launched an attack. Bam! To meet force with force was the most primitive way of combating. But as soon as Wang Xian attacked, there was a sharp radiance of 1 meter long extending out from his pair of dragon claws. He slashed it at the Ichthyosaur. Hiss! The razor-sharp metal aura enveloped and cut the body of the Ichthyosaur, leaving wounds of a meter long on its body. Wang Xian displayed a cold look as he stared at Ichthyosaur with wariness. His body swayed as he was ready to strike again at any time. Roar! The Ichthyosaur roared with rage. Growl! At this time, devastating shrieks were heard from the side. That Ichthyosaur was shocked as he began to observe the surroundings. Suddenly, he realized that 3 15-meters-long Ichthyosaurs were falling apart under the joint attack of roving heavens, Prime Minister Turtle, and 9 venomous sea snakes. All of them were wounded, and blood was everywhere. Those 10-meter-long Ichthyosaurs were attacked by 2-meter-sized lobsters which were gleaming with a metallic glow from head to toe. They were wielding their pincers in the assault. Half of the smaller ones were either wounded or killed. The bunch of devil monkeys gave off demonic flames, accompanied by fearsome attacks. Their bodies were covered by black scales which looked extremely creepy. Every devil monkey looked more like a hideous devil. Roar! The 17-meter-long Ichthyosaur let out a mournful growl. His eyes got redder, and his body exuded icy cold luster as he glared at Wang Xian. Hee, I can upgrade my level after I eat you up. Wang Xian also returned him a pair of cold stares. Dragon King! Dragon King! Just then, Prime Minister Turtle swam slowly below him. Roving heavens came to the left while the 9 venomous sea snakes were swimming around him. All of them were staring at the 17-meter-long Ichthyosaur. Kill it! Wang Xian immediately issued orders. Prime Minister Turtle took the first move to make a group of earth thorns slowly surface on the water, swiftly launching an attack with it. Roving Heavens swung his rod in his hand and smashed the Ichthyosaur. 9 venomous sea snakes moved at a frightening speed and darted out. Wang Xian was moving his tail as he exuded a metallic aura. Roar! The Ichthyosaur was petrified as it could not resist the most vigorous assault from the Dragon Palace. Bam, bam, bam! Blood splattered as Roving Heavens swung his rod hard on the head of the Ichthyosaur. Wang Xian made a swift move and bit the Ichthyosaur's body as he swallowed it in big gulps. A mouthful of flesh and blood turned into immense dragon energy. Growl! The Ichthyosaur let out a despairing scream before its vitality quickly disappeared. Wang Xian swallowed the 17-meter-long Ichthyosaur, weighing dozens of tons, entirely in a minute. His dragon claws grabbed the pair of Ichthyosaur's eyeballs and continued to devour other Ichthyosaurs around him, ignoring the system notifications and the increase in his body mass. Dragon energy was rising at a crazy speed. The battle of the races often brings massive benefits to the ones who win the victory. After Wang Xian devoured more than hundreds of Ichthyosaurs, his dragon energy increased to more than 1 million points. Currently, his body grew to 7 meters long. Name Wang Xian. Race 5 Elements Divine Dragon, able to transform into a human. Level 7. Dragon Energy 1, 563, for 21/10, 000, Superpower, Dominate the marine animals, ability to rule any marine animals that are lower than the existing level. Devour any form of marine animals, for extraction of dragon energy. 5 Elements Control. Art of Cultivation, Divine Dragon Transformation. Finally, I promoted my level! Wang Xian looked at his own attributes, and was thrilled about it. He rocked his body as he felt the mightiness from the divine dragon body. Now, it should be a lot easier to deal with that Ichthyosaur. I can even fight level 12 creatures. Wang Xian thought to himself. He transformed himself into a 5-colored divine dragon. Wang Xian glanced around and noticed a bunch of devil monkeys chewing the smaller Ichthyosaurs' dead bodies. He ignored them. This is the law of the jungle. Devouring some powerful creatures could enhance some strength and bring about many benefits. Wang Xian swam towards the shipwrecks ahead of him. He breathed out Earth Dragon aura from his mouth, unveiling all the shipwrecks in front of him. Treasure! When he saw the chest in it, he was exhilarated. With his claw, he opened it immediately. Unfortunately, they contained calligraphy and paintings which had already turned into scraps. He opened another chest and found silver inside. Silver! Just nice, we're short on that! Wang Xian was satisfied with his find. Just then, the system notification arrived. He pondered before he collected all the silver. He continued to search the rest of the shipwrecks and found silver in the chests, and a small portion of gold. These plants! Wang Xian came to the plants which he had noticed when he arrived here just now. The plants grew on the ships, glistening and looking alluring. They were very eye-catching. 5 tufts were found on the central shipwreck, another 5 to 6 tufts were located at the side. When he arrived before these plants, a message appeared in his brain. Fish secretion grass, level 5. Extractable dragon energy, 7,657. Level 5 spiritual medicines! They are level 5 spiritual medicines! No wonder the Ichthyosaurs marked this place as their territory. It was all for the level 5 spiritual medicines. Wang Xian displayed slight surprise as he swam forward and picked the tufts of fish secretion grass up. With curiosity, he opened up the chest under the fish secretion grass and found some spoiled herbs in it. These fish secretion grasses must have been formed after the ships sank in the sea along with the gold, silver, and spiritual medicines a few thousand years ago. Dragon King, 25 devil monkeys died and there were 108 casualties in this battle. At this moment, Roving Heavens came over and reported respectfully. We had more than 10 deaths? Wang Xian nodded his head. In wars, death is inevitable. The deaths of 25 devil monkeys was considered little. Wang Xian realized the problem after the battle just now. It was about war formation. Devil monkeys were the main force as the forward. Hence, it was inevitable to have deaths and casualties during close combat. But the Clam Girl's performance surprised him. The Clam Girl's long-range assistance could bring significant advantages to the devil monkeys who would engage in close combat. In the future, the 9 divisions of the Divine Dragon will create a formation. The Devil Division will be the forward. We need to have an auxiliary division, a long-range attack division, and a defense division, just like the assistants, tankers, supports, mages, and scouts in a game. Wang Xian thought to himself. The 9 divisions of the Divine Dragon would be developing in this direction. The recruitment of subordinates would be in this direction as well. Hence, the Ichthyosaurs with bulky attacks were not in his consideration. Chapter 198 Luxurious Cruise. Splash! Emerging from the seas, Wang Xian landed on the deck of the yacht with a smile. The sun had just risen. The rosy red sunlight shone on the surface of the seas, creating an exceptionally beautiful scene. Since leveling up, the disposition of a supreme ruler on Wang Xian became even denser. Each action of his was filled with noble airs. He wore his clothes and took a glance at the time. It was already 8+ in the morning. Sensing that Lan Qinghue was still asleep, he went to the kitchen and took out a piece of ichthyosaur meat. The meat was clear and had the aroma of meat. As the flesh of a level 10 marine animal, not only was it delicious but it was also highly nourishing to the body. Wang Xian sliced the fish and prepared some condiments. After which, he took out a bottle of red wine before heading to the second floor with a radiant smile. Qinghue, it's time to get up. What time is it now? A lazy voice sounded from the room. It's already past 8 in the morning and the sun has risen. Get up and have breakfast. Wang Xian replied with a grin. All right, Xiao Xian. I'll be down in a short while. Wang Xian returned to the kitchen and tidied the dining table. Wow, Xiao Xian! You have already made breakfast. When Lan Qinghue saw the food on the table as she walked down the stairs, her eyes lit up and she walked over cheerfully. Of course. Have some delicious sashimi. You definitely haven't eaten such delicious sashimi previously. Wang Xian replied in a gentlemanly manner. The weather is great outside. Having breakfast here is such a luxury. Lan Qinghue looked at the seas that were dyed red from the rays of the sun and was intoxicated by the scene. Have a little red wine. Have some sashimi and a sunny side up. Wang Xian passed the food over and spoke with a smile. Thank you, Xiao Xian. What is this fish? It tastes so much better than Atlantic bluefin marlin. It's so delicious! Lan Qingwei looked at Wang Xian heartily, and bliss was written all over her face. Wang Xian smiled and made up an answer. After finishing her breakfast, Lan Qingwei walked to the deck and observed the surroundings. Suddenly, she asked inquisitively, Xiao Xian, where are we? Where's the island that was near us last night? After you had fallen asleep yesterday, I steered it for a long time. Even I do not know where we are now. Let's just take things as they come. Wang Xian laughed and took a glance at the global positioning system through his phone. This? When Wang Xian saw where they were at, he was shocked. It seems like I have steered the ship to the public seas unknowingly. Wang Xian commented in shock. The public seas referred to regions that weren't supervised by any country. Public seas? Xiao Xian, you actually steered the ship for over 100 miles. That's pretty incredible. Lan Qingwei felt a little speechless with Wang Xian. Wang Xian laughed. It wasn't he who had steered the ship for over 100 miles. Instead, it was Prime Minister Turtle who had dragged the ship for over 100 miles. However, he naturally wouldn't tell Lan Qingwei about this. In the future, he might tell Lan Qingwei about his other identity. However, this wasn't the right time. The public seas aren't bad too, since we are still going to tour around for another 2 days. Lan Qingwei smiled and asked, Xiao Xian, do you have a computer? What do you need a computer for? I have to check on some things for the company. You finally got out. Why are you concerned about the company now? Have a good time and you can worry about it when we get back. Wang Xian walked to her. This wouldn't do. In a few days, Jade Nation will have a Jade Betting Festival. At that time, I have to head to Jade Nation to purchase Jade Stones. Lan Qingwei explained to Wang Xian. I don't have a computer. Therefore, I guess it's better if you just relax over the next 2 days. Wang Xian smiled and looked at her. Lan Qingwei pouted. Suddenly, something caught her eyes as she exclaimed, Xiao Xian, look! There's a huge cruise right there. There really is a cruise. Wang Xian looked over and indeed saw a cruise 500 to 600 meters away from him. The cruise ship was approximately 150 meters long and had 3 floors. It also looked extremely luxurious. What really surprised him was that the cruise ship was docked in the middle of the sea and surrounded by various yachts. That's the Venture, a public sea cruise of the gambling city. I heard that they have a casino on it with all kinds of interesting games and food. Lan Qingwei was shocked to see the cruise. Venture? Public sea cruise? Casino? Wang Xian looked on in astonishment. Yeah, I heard it from my parents. The truth is that there are in fact a lot of such gaming cruises in the public seas. Since it could cruise through the seas, it is natural that gambling is made possible on it. I heard that their services are pretty good. Lan Qingwei explained to Wang Xian. Oh, is it? Should we go take a look? Wang Xian hesitated for a moment. He looked to the surrounding yachts before asking. Sure. Some wealthy people steer their own yacht over since they might prefer to not follow the cruise. Why don't we go over? There should be a computer for use on the cruise. Lan Qingwei was also a little interested. All right, let's head there and take a look. This was also the first time Wang Xian heard of such cruises. He immediately nodded his head and steered the yacht towards the cruise. Stop your yacht on the seas. We will send a small boat over to receive you. Just as the yacht approached, the service attendant on the cruise shouted loudly at them to remind them. Wang Xian stopped the yacht and looked around him. Around the cruise, there was a special area marked out by nets as a swimming area. One could swim within the area without being wary about dangers. The safety precautions were ample and well done. What a thoughtful gaming facility! Wang Xian thought to himself. At this moment, a small boat approached them. Let's go, Xiao Xian, Lan Qingwei said to Wang Xian. The two of them jumped onto the small boat and boarded the cruise. Welcome to the Venture Cruise. Once they got onto the cruise, 2 beautiful waitresses welcomed them with radiant smiles. The floor was layered with red carpet and looked extremely grandiose. Wang Xian took out several $100 bills as tips for the service attendants around him before heading in. Hi, sir and miss, the first floor of our cruise is the gaming area. The second floor is where various entertainment facilities are located, while the third floor is where the rooms for our guests are. Once you get in, there will be guides dedicated to you. The service attendants smiled as they explained to them. Wang Xian and Lan Qingwei nodded their heads. Why don't we go have some fun on the first floor? This was the first time Wang Xian was in such a place, and he was thrilled as he asked Lan Qingwei. All right. Lan Qingwei nodded her head, and the two of them headed towards the entrance of the gaming area on the first floor. Once they entered, they noticed the grand decorations immediately. The entire floor was very spacious and spanned several thousand square meters. There were various gaming tables and machines available. To their surprise, the first floor had 300 to 400 people playing all kinds of games. Wang Xian looked ahead and saw things that he had only seen in movies. He rubbed his hands and got a little excited. Let's go test out our luck. Wang Xian smiled and said to Lan Qingwei, You can play. I'll just accompany you. Lan Qingwei replied with a smile. Great, let's go then. Chapter 199, Your Garbage. Dice, blackjack, roulette, poker, slot machines, and many more games on the cruise. Casual betting is for fun. If it gets serious, one will lose the entire family's fortune. Wang Xian and Lan Qingwei came here to have some fun. It would be a pleasant experience for them too. Wang Xian had never been exposed to gambling before, so he was a little curious about it. But he was not expecting he could earn money with this. In fact, given Wang Xian's current ability, he was unable to make money with gambling as well. He was not the god of gamblers. He might possess a mighty strength, but this had no relationship with gambling skills. He did not have any supernatural power to change a card, just like how they did in the movies. In the movies, the actors memorized the cards. But even if Wang Xian had a good memory, this was not a movie after all. The bottom card could not be seen when the dealer shuffles the cards. In reality, the casinos would not cheat, except to earn money by using a certain probability. This probability could guarantee that they could make money out of it. Of course, each casino would have a gambling master to prevent others from cheating or making trouble in the casinos. Wang Xian and Lan Qingwei, with a beaming face, came to exchange 1 million worth of chips. Let's see if we can win some money! Lan Qingwei exclaimed with a smile. This isn't easy. Let's go and play something simple, Wang Xian said as he went to the sick bow table. Sick bow is a simple game that bets on the total scores of the dice. 4 to 10 total score will make a small, while 11 to 17 will make a big. You can even bet on specific scores, and the payouts are different. 2 of them came to the table with 6 people gathered around. They were placing bets, and shouting big and small. Among them, some of the men were hugging young and beautiful women. Some of them wore low-cut dresses. They leaned their bodies on the men with alluring expressions. Finalize your bets now, the dealer said to the crowd around the table. When Wang Xian saw the crowd placing their bets, he looked over his shoulder and said to Lan Qingwei, Let's play this. Big or small? Big! Lan Qingwei chuckled as she said. Okay, we'll bet $50,000 and try our luck. Wang Xian smiled and placed 5 chips on big. 1, 2, 4. 7 points small. After he placed the bets, the dealer opened the cage and counted the points before she announced the outcome to everyone. Oh, Xiao Xian! We lost! Upon seeing the result, Lan Qingwei pouted and spoke grumpily. Haha, it's fine. It's my turn. Wang Xian laughed as the dealer continued to roll the dice. With some hesitation, he continued, This time, we'll still bet on big. 2, 2, 4. 8 points small. The result was out, and Wang Xian was speechless. He'd lost again. Your turn next, Wang Xian said with a bitter look on his face. Sure. Lan Qingwei smiled. Let's go somewhere else. After more than 10 consecutive rounds, they had lost $200,000. Wang Xian went to other gambling tables without any choices. Sure, you really don't have the luck. Hee, I didn't lose that much. Wang Xian lost his words. A loss is still a loss no matter how much you lose. There's a fishing slot machine over there. Let's play that. Wang Xian saw the fishing slot machines not far away from them. He had seen those in his hometown, but he had never tried before. After he played those machines, Wang Xian was left with only $200,000 worth of chips. He'd lost about $700,000 within an hour. He had to admit that gambling was losing more than winning. We still have the last 20 chips. Let's get our base money back. Wang Xian was not too mindful about losing money. He went back excitedly to the place where they'd bet on the dice. There were 4 young men and 5 middle-aged men at the table. Wang Xian walked over and sat at the side. Lan Qingwei was standing and watching him play from the side with smiles. Finalize your bets. The dealer's voice was heard again. Wang Xian looked around as he beamed. He then placed his bet on the small. 4, 5, 6. 15 points, big! Haha, I told you it's big again. At this moment, a young man laughed out loud. He stood up and collected all the chips with a stuck-up look. Awesome, you're indeed someone who uses hidden weapons. The few young men beside him praised him with envy. The young man immediately revealed a conceited look. He drew his lips slightly. It is worth it to practice for so long. Finally, I see some results. If you can place your attention on your cultivation, I'm sure you can surpass your current strength today. A young man quipped at him. Why do people lead such tiring lives? Just have fun in the things you're interested in. No matter what, I don't have anything to worry about for the rest of my life. The young man was chic as he held a chip in his hand. Suddenly, he looked at Lan Qingwei, who was diagonal across from him. Right, beauty? He flicked his finger, and the chip shot in a straight and precise direction to the clothes under Lan Qingwei's neck. Haha, gambling and beauty. How cool is Brother Zhu? The young man beside him chuckled and commented. Piak. When Wang Xian saw the flying chip, he frowned and reached out to receive it. The chip said 20. That represented $200,000, which was the biggest denomination chip over here. Do not litter! Wang Xian narrowed his eyes and threw the chip in the garbage bin at the side. The young man, who was laughing, drew his lips slightly when he saw Wang Xian throw his chip away after receiving it. He then sized Wang Xian and Lan Qingwei up with a face full of smiles. Haha, you just got a slap in your face. The rest of the young men chuckled at what they saw. That young man waved his hand as he was not bothered by it. Big or small? Finalize your bet. At this time, the dealer was heard again. Wang Xian looked over and threw a few chips on the small. Let's just place any bets. That young man looked at Wang Xian. Just now, he did not listen to the sound of the dice. Hence, he just placed $200,000 worth of chips on big. 3, 5, 6. 14 points, big! Haha, my luck is good. I can even win when I just placed my bet anyhow. The young man chuckled once again. With a playful look, he stared at Wang Xian. Brat, you're out of luck today. Wang Xian cast a cold glance at the young man and ignored him. Xiao Xian, let's forget about them. Lan Qingwei popped over and reminded him with a whisper. Wang Xian smiled and nodded. He would not dampen his mood just because of a few pieces of garbage over there. It's okay. Let's carry on. Wang Xian saw that the dealer had rolled the dice. He took out another 5 chips and placed them on small. Tis, brat, you're garbage. At the same time, the young man sitting diagonally opposite him shook his head. He then placed his chip on big with beaming expressions. 1, 4, 6. 11 points, big! The dealer opened the hood and announced the outcome loudly. Chapter 200, Eyes Modification. Haha! The laughter of that young man sounded again as he revealed a conceited look. Oh, Zhu Qian, are you here to wreck my casino? Let me tell you this, I won't be paying you the money you win. At this moment, a good-looking young man walked over. Beside him, a middle-aged man and an old man followed closely behind. The two of them were to the left and right of the young man. Hee. If Brother Tiancheng isn't paying me my winnings, I can only make you pay for my bills on the cruise. Zhu Qian smiled and replied to the incoming young man. Ha! Great! Since you guys are here, it's only natural that I will be a good host. The young man laughed as he walked over and patted on Zhu Qian's shoulders. Have a good time. Let me arrange the itinerary for the next few days. Thank you, Brother Tiancheng. The surrounding group of young men answered with radiant smiles. Finalize your bets. When the dealer saw the approaching young man, he perked up. He became more serious with shaking the dice and announced loudly. These are the last 5 chips. Qingwei, I'll leave them with you. Wang Xian handed over the 5 chips to Qingwei. All right. Just see how I am going to win them all back. Lan Qingwei took over the chips and was hesitating on placing them on the big, or small, section. Hey, pretty! Follow me and I can guarantee you'll win. At this moment, Zhu Qian looked at Lan Qingwei and commented. The young man that had just arrived took a glance at Zhu Qian before looking at Lan Qingwei. A thought struck him and he smiled. I don't care. Lan Qingwei glanced at Zhu Qian with contempt and still placed her bet under the small section. Hee. Zhu Qian shook his head as he placed his chips on the big section. Pretty, if you follow me, I can guarantee your winnings. The brat beside you is trash. The other young men looked on with cocky smiles. 2, 4, 6. 12 points. Big. Wins. The dealer revealed the dice and announced the result loudly. Don't come and disgust others. Lan Qingwei replied with disdain after hearing flirtatious comments from Zhu Qian constantly. Oh? Zhu Qian raised an eyebrow and unhappiness flashed past his eyes. Seeing that Lan Qingwei had 0 chips left, he lifted his head and remarked. Hey pretty, out of chips already? Here are some for you to play with. As he finished his sentence, he threw out 5 to 6 chips. Each chip was worth $200,000. His actions made the remaining young men tongue-tied. To just throw out $1. 2 million like this, that's the demeanor of a local tyrant. Let's go, Xiao Xian, and ignore this crazy guy. When Lan Qingwei saw the looks of Zhu Qian, she felt even more contempt. She wasn't a little girl who hadn't seen the world. She was making decisions for Deep Sea Jewelry, an organization of over $10 billion. Zhu Qian's actions to her were those of a retard. Hee. Wang Xian nodded his head and laughed lightly. He saw the embarrassed looks on Zhu Qian and felt even more like laughing. Lan Qingwei still had a domineering character. A female CEO that helmed a $10 billion business wasn't someone who would be tempted by money from a rich kid. Hey pretty, you better watch your words. Zhu Qian saw the mocking eyes of his friends and said with a solemn expression. When Lan Qingwei heard Zhu Qian, she replied with contempt. You are just another guy who feels too good about himself. In my eyes you are. TSK. You must be lacking someone to teach you. Zhu Qian squinted his eyes as vile thoughts and looks flashed past his mind. Huh! When Wang Xian heard his words, his face turned cold. He looked at Zhu Qian and the group of young men behind him before finally stopping at the young man who had just arrived. Is this your cruise? Does it mean that you allow your friends to spout nonsense here? As long as my friends are happy, I can handle the rest. That young man was surprised to see Wang Xian questioning him as he replied directly. As long as my friends are happy, I can handle the rest. A nonchalant answer from him that showed that he wasn't concerned about what had happened. In his eyes there was indeed nothing to be calculative about. This was his territory, and considering Zhu Qian's background, he was someone worth his protection. Ha, great! Interesting. Wang Xian heard the young man's reply and revealed a creepy grin. Let's go, Qingwei. Let's get some more chips and have some fun with them. Wang Xian said to Lan Qingwei before walking towards the place to exchange chips. Huh? Lan Qingwei looked at him with questions in her mind. Just wait here a little. Wang Xian smiled at her before speaking to the group of young men. Oh? Xu Qian and the group of young men looked at Wang Xian with doubts. They couldn't tell what Wang Xian wanted to do. However, they didn't say a word and simply looked at him coldly. Wang Xian walked to the chips exchange area, took out his card and said to the employee, $5 million. Get me the chips with the largest denominations. All right, sir. The employee smiled and nodded his head before passing him his chips. Xiao Xian, let's forget about it. With our skills, we will just be giving them money. Let's not be calculative with a few rich kids. Seeing how Wang Xian had reacted, Lan Qinghua thought that Wang Xian just wanted to do something for her. She immediately discouraged him. It's fine. I need to use the washroom. When I get back, I'll be the gambling king. Wang Xian thumped his chest and replied with a radiant grin. Lan Qinghua looked at him helplessly. If we lose this money, we won't be continuing no matter what. All right. I understand. A gambler will lose 9 out of 10 times. Wang Xian grinned and nodded his head before heading to the washroom. As for Lan Qinghua, she waited outside the washroom. The washroom on the cruise was luxurious and grand. Every cubicle was also tightly separated. Hee, I'll make you pay a heavy price for being so cocky today. Wang Xian revealed a deadly smirk. He had not wanted to resort to this. However, it seemed like there would be such a need at this moment. He took out a fist-sized item from his pocket. The eye of a level 11 Ichthyosaur. Wang Xian had not devoured the eyes but had kept it instead. As the divine dragon, he had an extremely powerful ability. Wang Xian had utilized it a little initially. And that was Modification. Using dragon energy for modification was an extremely powerful ability. Wang Xian had earned his first bucket of gold through dragon energy modification. Dragon energy modification could alter an animal exterior. Based on the extent of the modification, the exhaustion of the dragon energy would differ. At this moment, Wang Xian could even use dragon energy to alter his own body. Other than his appearance, he could also modify his interior. For example, his heart or other related organs. This would naturally include his eyes. Wang Xian could modify his eyes to give them the ability to see further, but was limited to this. This was because he did not have samples of other eyes and didn't know how to modify. The ability to see further is simple and he could understand. If he wanted abilities like Byakugan or Sharingan from the popular manga series, Naruto, it would be difficult, as he did not have a sample. Modification couldn't be done out of the thin air. And just a night ago, he had obtained the eyes of the Ichthyosaur. The ability of this eye was to enable the user to see weakness. Based on his previous research, the ability of this eye wasn't as great as he had initially imagined. Its real ability was penetration. To put it simply, it was to see through things. The stronger the organism or object, the harder it was to see through. On the contrary, the weaker it was, the easier it was to see through. This was also similar to the ability to identify one's weakness. The clam girl's long-range assistance could bring significant advantages to the devil monkeys who would engage in close combat. In the future, the 9 divisions of the Divine Dragon will create a formation. The Devil Division will be the forward. We need to have an auxiliary division, a long-range attack division, and a defense division, just like the assistants, tankers, supports, mages, and scouts in a game. Wang Xian thought to himself. Xu Qian gave a cold look at Wang Xian while throwing a chip on. Small. Just now, my luck was poor. But now, my lady of luck is back since I washed my hands, Wang Xian said impassively as he received $2 million worth of chips from the dealer. Finalize your bets, the dealer announced to everyone at the table after he shook the dice again. Gentlemen, follow my bet. Wang Xian looked at the other 5 middle-aged men on the same table and spoke with a smile on his face. They hesitated as they did not believe in him since he had lost a huge amount of money just now. Wang Xian was not bothered by this at all. He placed another $1 million worth of chips on. Small. Her? Xu Qian was somewhat surprised as he placed his chip on small, as well. The rest of the middle-aged men could not make up their decisions. But some decided to follow Wang Xian and place a higher stake. 133. 7 points, small wins. The dealer opened the cover and frowned before he declared the score. Looks like my lady of luck is here. Wang Xian smiled as he had earned 2 million in a short while. Let's continue. The dealer shook the dice for a longer time such that Zhu Qian frowned at it. Wang Xian swept his gaze and saw the points clearly in it. I shall place a higher bet. As he spoke, he threw $5 million on big immediately. Some of the middle-aged men hesitated before they followed his bet with 10,000 worth of chips. Zhu Qian knit his eyebrows together. Just now, the dealer has taken a longer time to shake the dice with a variety of changes made to the rhythm. Apparently, all of these dealers were specially trained to interrupt some people with special hearing. Small! He chose not to follow Wang Xian and placed the chip on. Small. 446. 14 points, big wins. When the dealer opened the cover and saw the points in it, his expression changed slightly. All of a sudden, this gambling table was losing a large sum of money. Zhu Qian had a different expression as he stared at Wang Xian with an awful look. You're damn lucky! Haha, you're absolute garbage! Wang Xian smiled and returned his remark. Bro, you're in some kind of luck today. Your lady of luck is here. Yes, carry on with the bets. We'll place the same thing and reap the gains. The middle-aged men beside him laughed as they spoke to Wang Xian. Since Wang Xian had won 3 times in a row, his luck had proven to be good. Sure. Follow me, and you'll never lose out, Wang Xian said confidently. He did not mind people who won money because of him since they would not be a hindrance to him. Besides, that young man seemed to be the in charge of this cruise. Wang Xian intended to make him cry his eyes out. Chapter 202. I'll leave when I win $800 million to $1 billion. On the gambling table, the smart-looking man started to frown when he saw Wang Xian win $5 million in one game. However, he didn't say a word. In the gaming industry, it is common to see customers win money. In fact, some people even win tens of millions. However, these people were rare. Large-scale casinos like theirs wouldn't say much about it, and would only attribute it to the luck of their customers. Let's continue. Wang Xian looked at the dealer and said with a smile. The dealer started to frown and looked towards the young man. The young man gestured for him to continue. The dealer nodded. He then covered the dice shaker and started shaking them. This time, the dealer shook the dice for a longer period. Pack. The dealer put the dice shaker on the table and remarked, Please finalize your bets. Wang Xian scanned through and placed $5 million on the small section. Follow him! Those middle-aged men beside him didn't hesitate to follow him. Some took out several tens of thousands while others placed bets of over a few 100,000. Zhu Qian's face was gloomy, and he remained silent. He could only vaguely guess the results as the dealer shook the dice for a longer time. Therefore, he didn't place his bet for this round. Seeing chips of over $5 million for this round, the dealer took a deep breath before opening the dice cover. 114. Small! Haha, we won. You are awesome, young brother! You are fantastic! Yes, Lady Luck is really smiling brightly on you. We won, we won! A few middle-aged men beside Wang Xian's side stood up in a hurry and quickly swept the chips over and in front of Wang Xian. The dealer swallowed his saliva. He hesitated for a moment before paying out the remaining chips. How is this possible? This young man was trash previously. How could he become? Zhu Qian's expression changed for the worse as he looked at Wang Xian in disbelief. The young man beside Zhu Qian frowned. He then waved his hand to signal to the old man behind him. Young master! Check if he is cheating. Yes, young master! The old man nodded and moved to a position opposite Wang Xian. Thank you for your hard work, Wang Xian said. Wang Xian gave a ridiculed expression when he saw the old man moving to the position opposite him to observe him. He took up a chip worth $200,000 and threw it towards the old man. What great luck you are on, son! I would like to observe for a while. The old man picked up the token and spoke to Wang Xian while maintaining a smile. As you wish, Wang Xian replied and nodded nonchalantly. Let's continue, the young man said to the dealer grumpily. Perspiration covered the dealer's forehead. He nodded, picked up the dice shaker and started shaking again. Wang Xian sat there nonchalantly while Lan Qingwei grabbed his hand blissfully. Please finalize your bets, the dealer stuttered. Big! Wang Xian scanned through and pushed $10 million worth of chips forward. Big! Big! I'll bet $1 million. I believe in you, young brother. $500,000. The group of middle-aged men who had followed Wang Xian with his bets previously placed all their chips forward. Those around them saw the quantum of the bets and turned over curiously. There were also some who were attracted by the crowd. Open! 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 Big! 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 The group of middle-aged men beside Wang Xian were already chanting ecstatically before Wang Xian said a word. The dealer's hands trembled. He looked at the bets amounting to over $12 million as he lifted his hands slowly. 4, 5, 6. Big! The dealer announced as his face turned white. He had lost over $20 million in just a few games. The old man who was observing Wang Xian started frowning and turned serious. Bring more chips over! Hurry up, hurry up! Give us our winnings! The group of middle-aged men demanded. Give it to them! The young man's emotionless voice sounded as he looked at the dealer with a sullen face. The dealer nodded and gave them their winnings. Ha ha! I've won more than $20 million! Wang Xian looked at the young man mockingly and laughed. Wang Xian was typically a humble man. However, if someone was to offend him, he wouldn't be courteous to them. Let's continue! Yes, yes! Let's continue! Hurry up, hurry up! The group of middle-aged men beside Wang Xian were elated. They were looking at Wang Xian as if they were looking at their god of fortune. In just 2 games, some people had won 5 to 600,000. There were even some people who had won a few million. At this moment, the old man walked over and spoke to the dealer. Let me do it. Yes, old Gao. Please. Please. The dealer hurried aside when he heard old Gao. He felt relieved. The old man took up the dice shaker and shook it lightly for a few times. After which, he placed it on the table. Please finalize your bet, the old man said calmly. Wang Xian looked at the old man. The old man was very calm and kept his cool. He must be an expert. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stepped in now. Wang Xian thought to himself. He scanned through the dice shaker again and took out $5 million. $5 million on small. Why don't you bet more? Xu Qian asked Wang Xian coldly. It was obvious Xu Qian knew old Gao. I'm not so certain for this round. Therefore, I'll just be placing a smaller bet. Wang Xian smiled and replied. The group of middle-aged men was slightly surprised. They hesitated for a moment when they saw Wang Xian placing a bet of only $5 million. Eventually, they placed bets that ranged between 100 to 200,000. As the crowd finalized their bets, they looked at the old man. The old man smiled calmly and reached for the cover. Wang Xian focused on the dice inside and saw the dice had changed when the old man held onto the cover. The dice, which were originally 1, 1, 3, had changed to 6, 6, 3. My apologies. 6, 6, 3. Big, the old man said with a big smile. Big. Hayes. We've lost. It's big. We've lost. The group of middle-aged men standing by the sides felt their hearts aching. Wang Xian's expression remained unchanged. He gestured to the old man. Let's continue. Okay, let's continue. The old man smiled. The few young men beside him also grinned and were feeling confident. The old man shook the dice shaker and placed them down slowly once again. Small, $20 million. Wang Xian pushed all his tokens on the small section and smiled confidently. You are really confident, young brother. I will follow you, $500,000. Me too. I placed $1 million. Since this young brother dares to bet $20 million, my $1 million is nothing. The group of middle-aged men increased their bets after seeing Wang Xian bet $20 million for this round. Hee hee. Fine. The old man nodded his head with a smile. He then reached for the cover. Wait a minute! Wang Xian shouted and stood up. The old man frowned slightly and stared at him, feeling puzzled. Let the dealer beside you open it. I don't trust you. Wang Xian stared at the old man with a wide grin and spoke slowly. Old Gao's expression changed slightly as he replied with a solemn voice. What is the difference? There's no difference. However, I just want that dealer to be the one opening it. So? You can't allow it? Or are you hiding something? Wang Xian said to the old man coldly. The old man's expression changed and he stared harshly at Wang Xian. The shaking was completed anyway. It doesn't matter who's the one opening the cover. Since we are the customers, why can't you accede to our request and let the other dealer open it? That's right. It is the same no matter who opens it. Let the dealer at the side open it. The group of middle-aged men picked up Wang Xian's suspicions and made their views heard immediately. Their action of changing dealers in the middle of gambling had already angered some of them. The question on who should open the cover right now would also just be a small matter. If they refused, it would only confirm the young brother's suspicions that something wasn't right. What's the matter? Does it matter who opens the cover? That dealer can open it right away, can he? That's right. Although their request is slightly troublesome, you are operating a casino cruise. This is just a small request. Those customers who had gathered to see what was happening started to comment. The old man looked at those who were around and his face turned solemn. At this moment, he couldn't forcefully open it. If he did so, it would only prove to the crowd that they were indeed up to something. It would be a disastrous blow to them if news of their casino cruise cheating got out. Old Gao drew a long face and gestured to the dealer beside him. That dealer nodded with a bitter face as he reached to open the cover. His arms were trembling. 2, 3, 4. 9 points! Small! Ha ha! We won! We won! It's amazing! The group of middle-aged men who had just won were jubilant. The old man walked back to the young man with a troubled face and said, He is skillful! The young man looked extremely displeased and clenched his fist tightly. He stared at Wang Xian harshly and said, Young man, it's good to know when to stop. Wang Xian looked back at the young man as he replied coldly, I will leave when I win $800 million to $1 billion. What's the matter? You are operating a casino cruise and you won't let your customer win. If that is the case, you might as well shut it down. Chapter 203 Sunken 1. When that young man heard what Wang Xian said, cold radiance flashed in his eyes. I just won more than 30 million, and you're stopping me already? What about those people who lost over more than $10 million? Why aren't you stopping them? Do you mean that people can only lose and not win any money here? Wang Xian asked loudly with a disdainful look as he observed the young man's expression. That's right. You let us gamble if we lose our money. But how can you stop us when we're winning some money? I lost more than $5 million last year. Are you stopping us because we're winning? That's right. I saw a wealthy man lose more than 10 million just a few days ago. The audience around them began to speak loudly when they witnessed such a situation. Everyone knew that the chance of losing was more than winning in gambling. But if the casino stopped you from gambling just when you were winning some money, how would you feel? Everyone was displeased as they looked over there and commented. People from the other side of the casino came over out of curiosity when they saw the crowd. The young man was looking awfully embarrassed. Why would we stop you? Our casino can still afford to lose this bit of money. The old man turned to the crowd and said slowly, Since you guys want to play, let's continue then. Carry on. Cold radiance surfaced in the old man's eyes as he took the dice shaker and shook it violently. Pack. When the dice shaker hit the table, the old man said impassively, Finalize your bets. Interesting. Wang Xian saw 2 out of 3 dices stacked up together. The dice that was stacked up on top was 1 point, while the remaining dice was also 1 point. They added up to 2 points altogether. But given the rules, 3 to 10 points would make a small. There was no betting option for 2 points. Going by this, all betting options were losing options. But Wang Xian continued to bet on the small with 10 million. The middle-aged men and the spectators around the table were tempted as they followed his bet. "Get that dealer to open the cover!" Wang Xian pointed at the dealer by the side and said. Radiance flickered in the old man's eyes as he signaled the dealer to open the cover. That dealer almost burst into tears as he lifted the cover gently. 2 points, you lose! Ha ha! When Zhu Qian saw the dice stacking up, he exclaimed with thrills. Damn, why is it 2 points? Is this fucking possible? How did the dice end up stacking up together? Is this cheating? That's right, such a probability is too small. Those customers who had lost burst out with loud voices and grumpy looks on their faces. Wang Xian clapped his hands. Awesome! This old man is simply impressive. I'm sure you didn't learn how to stack all the dice together or crush them into powder just like the movie, did you? Brilliant! As he spoke, his face was full of sarcasm. He continued, Let's carry on. I don't believe I'll lose all the time. The old man stared at Wang Xian with surprise. When he saw a group of customers beginning to crowd over, his expression turned wretched. The young man at the side noticed the issue. This fellow obviously knew 2 dice were stacking on each other. But he continued to place a 10 million bet, encouraging the customers around him to follow him. It was okay if the dice stacked once or twice. However, what would the customers who lost their money think when this happened again and again? They could argue that this was absolutely cheating. I'm not sure who you are, but I'm paying you $100 million for you to leave from my gambling cruise and never come back again. The young man had mixed expression as he gritted his teeth and whispered to Wang Xian. Hee, what's the matter? Are you admitting your defeat? Wang Xian looked at the young man scornfully as he drew his lips slightly. Just now, your friend made cheap remarks. I'll not leave without $500 million. You still need to fork over another $100 million to distribute to the customers over here. If you're unwilling to do it, we can continue with the game, Wang Xian said slowly. He did not forget about the customers around him. He just wanted to make the young man feel disgusted. Otherwise, Wang Xian would lose out big time if he just let this young man off after spending 400,000 dragon energy on modifying his eyes. This young man had to pay some price for the 400,000 dragon energy. Brat, don't push your luck! The young man shot up from his seat as he glared at Wang Xian with a pair of cold eyes fuming with murderous intent. I'm pushing my luck? I came here just to have some fun. If it were not for your friend who was rude to my girlfriend while you said you could handle me, do you think I'd be here playing along with you? You want to have a game? Then let's have fair play. Wang Xian stood up and spoke sarcastically to the young man. Upon hearing Wang Xian calling her girlfriend, Lan Qing was slightly blushed. Immediately, she rolled her eyes at him. Zhu Qian had a rather awful expression on his face when he heard Wang Xian. He stared malevolently at him. Everyone saw that I lost more than $1 million right from the start. Since you guys taunted me, I should take this gamble seriously. Let me continue, or pay all the customers here and me. Then I'll leave. Wang Xian continued to say nonchalantly. I'm out to make them disgusted. The customers around them were looking doubtful, yet hopeful. If the casino is giving away $100 million to them, each of them could get quite a sum of money. Get out of here now, or else I'll make sure you regret it. The young man darkened his expression as he walked to Wang Xian and threatened him. He did not care about the strange looks on the faces of the surrounding customers. Bam, bam, bam! As the young man spoke, the security guards on the cruise ran over with electric batons in their hands. They glared at Wang Xian in a threatening manner. You are chasing and threatening me just because I won $30 million at your place. Haha, you can forget about operating such a gambling cruise from now on. Wang Xian fixed his indifferent eyes on all the people. The surrounding customers pondered slightly when they saw such a situation. Seeing the way that Venture handled such cases, they really had to reconsider if they should come here again in the future. If you dare to utter a word again, I can cripple your legs. No one dares to play punk on the turf of Jiang family in Gambling City. The young man stared at him with fiery eyes and an ice-cold expression. Brat, you're here to make trouble, aren't you? Zhu Qian walked over and glared at Wang Xian. I, Zhu Qian from the Zhu family, will make sure you have a miserable ending in the future for offending me. Is this a threat? Wang Xian looked at Zhu Qian and the young man before him with a trace of a smile on his face. If that's the case, let's wait and see. You better remember what you said just now. After Wang Xian finished his sentence, he looked at Lan Qingwe with a smiling face. Let's return to our yacht. Okay. Lan Qingwe nodded her head with a stern look on her face. Xiao Xian, I heard my grandpa mention Jiang family of the Gambling City once before. They are a powerful family. It's okay. Let's go back to the yacht to enjoy the beautiful scenery. Chapter 204 Sunken 2. This rascal is courting death. How dare he be so arrogant when he doesn't have the capabilities to support it? Zhu Qian said. He gave a grim look as he saw Wang Xian leaving. TSK, you don't know what you have gotten yourself into. I will not let things end like this. Jiang Tiancheng looked at the dispersing crowd with a cold face. Leave the girl to me, Zhu Qian said to Jiang Tiancheng with a vile expression. Jiang Tiancheng nodded and replied, This rascal has a yacht outside. If they aren't leaving, we shall wait till night. Hee hee, a 150-meter cruise, what a pity. After returning to the yacht, Wang Xian smiled when looking at the 150-meter cruise 30 meters in front of him. The entire cruise, inclusive of the renovation, was estimated to be worth at least $1 billion. Xu family? Jiang family of the Gambling City? Wang Xian's eyes lit up. With just a thought, he sent a signal into the sea. At this moment, 50 meters under the sea, members of the Dragon Palace were cultivating on the seabed. There were nearly 800 devil monkeys gathered there, and Prime Minister Turtle was lying on the sand. Roving Girl and Roving Lobster remained motionless. Only the 9 venomous sea snakes were swimming freely in the vicinity. As the signal came, all of them opened their eyes. They looked up at the cruise that was a few hundred meters away. Leave this to me, Roving Lobster said. Roving Lobster's body emitted a metallic glow as it swam swiftly towards the hull of the cruise. Roving Lobster was the second subordinate Wang Xian had gotten. Its current level was level 9. Roving Lobster was currently at level 9 and had fighting power almost comparable to an inborn expert. It swam under the cruise and struck the hull viciously with its huge pincer. The nearly impregnable cruise was damaged instantly with a 1-meter tear on its hull. Boom! Seawater started gushing into the cruise at a terrifying speed. Screech! The pincer struck again and another huge crack appeared on the hull of the cruise. Seawater surged in crazily. Beep 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 beep. On the cruise, Jiang Tianqing brought Zhu Qian and a few young men along as they walked towards the 3rd story. They were conversing happily. When the emergency alarm sounded, Jiang Tianqing was stunned. What is going on? His expression changed and he hurriedly turned towards old Gao who was at his side. It must be a fault on the cruise. Young master, let's go to the control room. Old Gao's expression changed, and he spoke in a hurry. Let's go. Jiang Tianqing had a solemn look. The cruise was just fine. Why would the alarm go off all of a sudden? What is happening? What is happening? He asked. Why would the alarm of the cruise go off suddenly? What happened? Don't tell me the cruise hit the coral reefs. The alarm rang through the whole cruise. Everyone was alarmed by it and ran out in a hurry. All crew members, please head to the 1st level deck. All crew members, please head to the 1st level deck. At this moment, the cruise's warning announcement sounded. Oh no, there is a major accident. Jiang Tianqing and his friends who were heading to the control room were shocked by the developments. Damn it! What's going on? Jiang Tianqing was very anxious. He couldn't care about being discovered anymore and jumped towards the 1st level. The old man followed behind and jumped down next. Zhu Qian and the rest followed after. Bam! Jiang Tianqing pushed through the control room's door and saw the distressed crowd. He shouted towards them angrily. Damn it, what happened? Young Master Jiang, the situation is bad. Water is flooding into the cruise at a rapid pace. It will only take half an hour before our cruise sinks, the captain replied. The middle-aged captain continued maniacally. The rescue party from our country will need an hour to arrive. We need to get all our customers onto the rescue boat. What? Why would the cruise be flooding suddenly without any premonitions? Why the hell are we flooding? Jiang Tianqing was flustered after hearing the captain. Sinking cruise? This has to be a joke. This cruise cost close to $1 billion. Furthermore, this cruise had been bought for less than 5 years. If the ship sank, the losses to the Jiang family would not just be $1 billion. They would also lose a gold mine in the sea. Young Master Jiang, we have no idea either. According to the mechanics, 2 holes appeared on the hull out of nowhere. Seawater is surging in through the holes. The displacement rate could not match that of the water. We have approximately half an hour before we sink completely. You should hurry to the escape boat. This cruise is beyond repair. This cruise is beyond repair. Jiang Tianqing's expression turned gloomy as he heard the last few words of the captain. He clenched his fist tightly. God damn it! Jiang Tianqing punched the door at the side heavily and left a hole in it. Brother Tianqing, you should come to my yacht now. Let the crew handle the situation here, Zhu Qian said. His friend and he was shocked by the situation. Young master, let them handle it. Old Gao, who was beside Jiang Tianqing, spoke solemnly. He looked equally aghast. Let's go! Jiang Tianqing gritted his teeth. The cruise that he was in charge of was sinking. He would be severely punished when he returned home. Fuck! This damn ship sank when it wasn't even moving. This cruise by the Jiang family is really trash. Damn it, we played here for just 3 days and the ship sank. I heard the venture just threw a person out because he was winning. This is freaking karma. I'm never going to a casino by the Jiang family. What shitty luck they have. The group heard the customers cursing angrily just as they exited the control room. You guys fucking shut your mouth. Jiang Tianqing growled angrily as he heard the conversations. Fuck, you won't even let us speak? Trash is trash. What is this shitty place? I have to discard the things I've brought along. You better compensate me for that. Although Jiang Tianqing was in a foul mood, the rest of the customers were unhappy too. They were cursing at Jiang Tianqing right to his face. Young master, don't be bothered by them. Let's go! Old Gao reminded Jiang Tianqing. Jiang Tianqing took a deep breath and barged through the crowd. Brother Tianqing, let's go! They reached the opposite side while the customers gathered at the exit. No one was left behind. Zhu Qian jumped off the cruise, stepped lightly on the waters and leaped onto the blue yacht at the side. Jiang Tianqing jumped and followed behind him. When he reached the deck of the yacht, his face was gloomy. As he looked at the sinking cruise, his heart was bleeding. Zhu Qian and his friends remained silent after seeing Jiang Tianqing's face. This scene would be truly shocking if it appeared in a movie, Wang Xian said from a yacht not far from the scene. He was smiling brightly. Chapter 205, Shiver in Fear. This? Lan Qingwei watched as the event unfolded before her, her eyes gaping and in disbelief. A cruise of more than 100 meters sank, making a shocking scene which was even more impactful than Armageddon in the science fiction movies. Xiao Xian, there are a lot of people on the cruise. Can you? Said Lan Qingwei, stupefied as she watched. Don't worry. The ship will take another half hour to sink completely. All of the people will be safely transferred to another place during that time, Wang Xian said as he narrowed his eyes. Qingwei, I still have matters to settle. Will you be watching it or? Wang Xian turned around and asked Lan Qingwei. Because it could be very gruesome for what comes next. Lan Qingwei looked at Wang Xian with hesitation. She slowly made out the words. Xiao Xian, don't kill the innocent. Don't worry. Wang Xian knew Lan Qingwei had guessed what his next course of action was. I will not hurt anyone unless they provoke me or hurt those people whom I care about. Okay, I'll cook you some fish and lobsters. We can eat it together later. Lan Qingwei smiled as she looked at Wang Xian. Sure. Wang Xian nodded as he watched Lan Qingwei enter the kitchen on the yacht. Then, he cast his gaze to the left-hand side. Some familiar figures were standing on the deck of the blue luxury cruise. With a thought, Prime Minister Turtle quickly surfaced on the water from the bottom of the sea. He then carried the yacht on his back, steering it closer to the cruise. Young master, the family head wants us to investigate this and beg for forgiveness, said the old man with an awful look as he hung up the phone and walked to Jiang Tiancheng on the blue cruise. Beg for forgiveness? Jiang Tiancheng clenched his fist tightly with a hideous expression. Who is that? It's that rascal. Just then, Xu Qian pointed to the front and shouted loudly with his eyes wide open. Her? Everyone on the deck was stunned as they followed the direction Xu Qian was pointing at. A yacht slowly approached them. On the yacht, a familiar young guy raised the tea in his hand and smiled. It's that brat. Jiang Tiancheng's eyes were fuming with ferocious radiance. Could the sinking of the cruise have something to do with him? Suddenly, a young man spoke. All of them were stunned. Even the old man by the side knit his eyebrows together. The sinking of the cruise was simply too creepy. How could a hole appear at the bottom of the cruise when it was not even moving? No one would believe it if someone said there was nothing odd about this. Jiang Tiancheng trembled as he fixed his eyes on Wang Xian. The yacht approached a close distance of 5 meters away from the cruise. I detest threats and people who have filthy mouths and spout nonsense. Wang Xian revealed a smile when he saw the 6 people on the cruise 5 meters away from him. I told you that you could forget about operating your casino. He spoke with a sarcastic look on his face. I wonder if you're regretting it now. Wang Xian looked at them indifferently. As he spoke slowly, he sipped tea and continued. Look, how spectacular this is! It was you! Jiang Tiancheng let out a low bellow from his throat as he stared malevolently at Wang Xian. I want you dead! Whoosh! At this time, Xu Qian, who was next to him, swung his arm. Dozens of hidden weapons darted out at Wang Xian all of a sudden. Do you know that I hate you for littering? Wang Xian gently swung his hand, and the hidden weapons fell into the water. He then gazed coldly at Xu Qian. Martial artist, you're a martial artist too! When Xu Qian saw Wang Xian sweep his hidden weapons without any difficulties, he found it hard to believe. Wang Xian, as a divine dragon, did not practice any inner energy. If he did not strike, no one could sense his strength. How dare you sink our cruise? Go to hell! The old man beside Jiang Tiancheng exuded murderous aura. As he struck, he displayed domineering oppression towards Wang Xian. Half step to inborn. Not bad! Wang Xian commented with a smile. Whoosh! As Wang Xian spoke, aquatic ropes suddenly shot out from the sea. They moved like flexible serpents as they launched a swift and fierce attack at the old man in the air. The old man had a drastic change in his expression. His entire body jerked as he brandished his palms at the aquatic ropes in the sea. Whoosh! However, more than 100 aquatic ropes surfaced again at this time. Oh no! The old man exhibited a shocked expression as the ropes wrapped around his body. Bam! Water splashed as the half-step to inborn expert was dragged into the sea. The next moment, he was out of sight completely. What? The people on the blue cruise were shocked when they saw the old man disappearing into the sea. Old Gao is a half-step to inborn expert. How could that be possible? A young man revealed an expression of disbelief as he mumbled. Jiang Tiancheng was equally surprised. He lifted his chin and looked fearfully at the young man who was staring back at him. The ocean is my turf. Whoever provokes me, I'll make sure he sinks to the bottom of the sea. Wang Xian glared at the young man before him with a pair of icy cold eyes. No, this has got nothing to do with us. 3 young men were totally freaked out on the cruise. He could sink a 100-meter cruise easily, and make a half-step to inborn expert disappear into the sea in the blink of an eye. Creepy aquatic ropes and freaky means. They retreated to the back as they pleaded for mercy. Xu Qian and Jiang Tiancheng were trembling. They seemed to have seen a devil laughing when they saw that young fellow displaying a beaming face. "Get into the sea," said Wang Xian to them. Boom! After he finished his sentence, the entire cruise sank to the bottom of the sea without warning. I was wrong. Please let me off. Please don't kill." Jiang Tiancheng and Zhu Qian blurted out with fearful voices, but they quickly came to an abrupt end. The ocean waves surged and combed, bringing about little ripples in the sea before it restored to a peaceful state. Wang Xian exhibited a nonchalant look. "If others leave me alone, I'll leave them alone too. But if they provoke me, I'll pay them back tenfold." This was Wang Xian's principle. What a sport! After Wang Xian dealt with the few fellows, he lost all interest. He only displayed a smile when he watched the sinking venture. Constructing the Dragon Palace required a large amount of steel and metal. Just nice. This cruise, weighing 100 tons, could provide a huge amount of resources. Wang Xian cast a look before he walked into the yacht. "Xiao Xian, wait for another 10 minutes. I'll be done soon," said Lan Qinghua smilingly when she saw Wang Xian walking in. "Sure." Wang Xian nodded as he sat on the sofa and waited with a beaming face. "Here, try my cooking." Chapter 206: Separating the Dragonians. "Xiao Xian, thank you. I've really enjoyed myself today. I need to go now, and don't forget our promise." On the beach, Lan Qinghua bade goodbye to Wang Xian joyously before leaving in a car. Wang Xian grinned while looking at her disappearing back view. After which, he walked slowly back to his villa. 3 days. Wang Xian had accompanied Lan Qinghua on the seas for 3 days. And in those 3 days, he had increased his level to level 7 and gathered 30% of the materials required for the Dragon Palace. He would just need 70% of the materials to complete the Dragon Palace. "Let's go to the medical hall." Over the last 2 days, there had been more than a dozen people from the hospital or individuals who had contacted him for treatment. This was a lot more than usual. As Wang Xian had been on the seas, he had rejected all of them. After riding his heavy-duty motorcycle to the medical hall, Wang Xian opened up the shop. After which, he switched on his computer and entered the Underworld website to check out the latest news. My ranking on the Miracle Doctor's chart has gone up. When Wang Xian came across the Miracle Doctor's chart, he clicked out of curiosity. His ranking had been 18th in the past. At this moment, it had risen to 11th. At the back of the Miracle Doctor's chart, there was a new comment. Increased ranking to 11th, as he cured the son of Ji Yuankun from Flow City. So this is because I cured the son of Maniac Ji. Wang Xian nodded his head slowly. After which, he clicked into the interactive news page and continued his browsing. Dragon Sect of Rivertown. A surprising thread appeared on the forum page which Wang Xian clicked hesitantly. First-class force from Rivertown, Dragon Sect. Maniac Ji from Flow City annihilated the tyrannical sword, Lu family of Hailing Province under the invitation of Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. Dragon Sect officially appeared in front of the public. Dragon Sect of Rivertown has an inborn expert and a dozen level 8 and level 9 martial artists. The exact strength of the Dragon Sect is unknown. The introduction in this thread wasn't complete and only had a few descriptions. The annihilation of the tyrannical sword Lu family caused a huge ruckus in the neighboring provinces, among which news relating to Dragon Sect and Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown had also attracted the attention of many people. It seems like the people of the underworld still don't know that I'm the one who established the Dragon Sect. Wang Xian was slightly surprised and continued browsing for a while. Miracle Dr. Wang! At this moment, a figure approached Wang Xian silently. Wang Xian turned around and nodded his head at Maniac Ji. Maniac Ji placed a bag beside him and said, "These are spiritual stones. A total of 120 pieces. Oh? So many of them? Wang Xian took up the bag in shock. However, when he saw the spiritual stones in it, a satisfied look appeared on his face. I accepted a great mission and earned some spiritual stones from it. Maniac Ji showed a faint smile and continued. In half a month, if everything goes as planned, I should be getting 200 more pieces. Wang Xian looked at Maniac Ji in astonishment. What kind of mission is it to give 200 spiritual stones as a reward? Collecting a level 5 spiritual medicine. There's a strong guarding monster beside that spiritual medicine. As long as I can get the spiritual medicine, I will be able to get 200 spiritual stones as a reward. Maniac Ji grinned. Goodbye, Miracle Dr. Wang. Feel free to instruct me as you wish. Wang Xian nodded his head. Looking at the spiritual stones in his hand, he hesitated for a moment. Building the Dragon Palace would require 10,000 pieces of spiritual stones. Currently, he had over 100 pieces. Moreover, these were all given to him by Maniac Ji. If I sell all my spiritual medicine, I should be able to get approximately 2,000 pieces of spiritual stones. If I breed more spiritual medicine, I will have gathered 10,000 pieces of spiritual stones in 1 to 2 years. This is still too slow, Wang Xian pondered. Since Maniac Ji can obtain so many spiritual stones through missions, why don't I let the Dragonians of Dragon Sect out to earn spiritual stones? With the current strength of the Dragonians, they are easily among the cream of the crop in the underworld. Wang Xian made up his mind. Dragon Sect was supposed to serve the Dragon Palace after all. Letting them out to complete missions could also accelerate the process of building the Dragon Palace. Moreover, only through more battles could the Dragonians get even stronger. In that case, I should send all the Dragonians out. Hopefully, they will be able to make a name for themselves. Wang Xian thought, and his lips curved into a smile. He wasn't fond of the idea of exposing his force, but the Dragon Sect had now been discovered by the public. In that case, he should separate the Dragonians and let them pursue their own paths. It's fine if they choose to go alone or develop their own influence. He did not want the Dragonians to simply stay within the base. If he required manpower in the future, the dispersed Dragonians would return to obey his orders as he commanded. Great. The Dragonians are pretty strong now. It's a waste that they are staying within the base the whole time. If I let them roam the underworld, they would be even stronger in the future. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and looked forward to the arrival of that day. The day when various forces would gather with a command from him. Having made his decision, Wang Xian summoned Mo Qinglong. In less than 20 minutes, Mo Qinglong appeared within the Divine Dragon Medical Hall. Dragon King! Mo Qinglong's burly figure bowed respectfully at Wang Xian as he greeted him. Huh! Wang Xian was slightly shocked when he saw Mo Qinglong's left shoulder. Why is your arm injured? Wang Xian asked in a solemn tone. It's the people from Sacred Seas of Swords. A ship came near our island yesterday. An old man on it questioned us, asking if it was us who had killed Yen Feng. He was arrogant, and therefore I killed that old fool and everyone that was with him. Mo Qinglong replied dimly. Sacred Seas of Swords. Wang Xian squinted his eyes. He naturally knew about the Sacred Seas of Swords. Yen Feng of the Yen family was a disciple of the Sacred Seas of Swords. His master was an inborn expert. The news of Yen family being eliminated and Yen Feng being killed had reached the people of the Sacred Seas of Swords. Moreover, only the newly emerged first-class force, Dragon Sect, could possibly eliminate the Yen family and kill Yen Feng in Rivertown. What good timing! Wang Xian hesitated for a moment. He waved his arm and instantly cured Mo Qinglong's injuries. I happen to have an idea in mind to disperse the Dragonians and let them move freely. Alternatively, they can move in teams of 3 to 5 people while roaming the underworld and collecting spiritual stones. They can establish their own forces or rule over an area. They are free to do what they want, but are not allowed to kill the innocent. Staying in the base would be a waste of their talents. Let's give them the opportunity to roam the world. Yes, Dragon King! Mo Qinglong nodded his head. Dragon King, what about me? Let me accompany you and be your butler. Mo Qinglong smiled. All right. Wang Xian thought for a while before nodding his head. However, he soon frowned and commented. However, many know about your appearance now. This will be a little troublesome. Dragon King, I can alter my appearance. As Mo Qinglong finished his words, he shook his body. The wrinkles on his face slowly faded, making him look a dozen years younger. A 40-year-old looking middle-aged man appeared in front of Wang Xian. He looked completely different from before. Since I have reached the inborn realm and obtained the bloodline of the Dragon King, I have regained my youth. It is just that I didn't think this was necessary, and therefore maintained my previous appearance. And Mo Qinglong's voice sounded a lot younger too as he explained deferentially to Wang Xian. Haha, great. You shall follow me in the future. Let Mo Yuan keep in contact with the rest of the Dragonians. Seeing the appearance of Mo Qinglong, Wang Xian revealed a faint smile. His decision to separate the Dragonians now would surely allow him to summon an unstoppable force with a command in the future. Wang Xian looked forward to that day and was interested in what the Dragonians would be able to achieve. The seas are my world and I'll conquer it bit by bit. As for the underworld, I'll leave it to the Dragonians. Chapter 207. Not any doctor could be called a miracle doctor. 1. Brother, are you going out for a few days? Sister-in-law wants me to tell you that you can bring Lan Qingwei here for a gathering after you're back. The next morning, Xiao Yu told this to Wang Xian after her breakfast, as Mo Qinglong stood beside Wang Xian, who had a chest in his hand. The entire river town, even the southern province, knew that Wang Xian had exterminated Lu family. Xiao Yu heard about it naturally. When she found out, she parted her lips slightly with a face full of surprises. She went to chat with Guan Shuqing. Through various devious questions, she realized that Guan Shuqing did not mind about all this. She did not seem to oppose it. Xiao Yu was speechless. Hence, she recognized that she might have 2 sisters-in-law in the future. Okay, you'll accompany Shuqing tomorrow during your break. Wang Xian had nothing to say as he nodded with a smile. Sure, brother. Rest assured that I will take good care of sister-in-law, Xiao Yu said playfully. Wang Xian patted her head helplessly. I'm off. I should be back in 3 to 4 days. Okay, sisterly will be here with us tomorrow too. Xiao Yu waved her hand as she gave him the cold shoulder. With Wang Xian's current status in Rivertown, Sister Li's husband, father, and mother-in-law treated her like something precious. Apart from her owning all of their family assets, Wang Xian's current status was also one of the reasons why her father and mother-in-law dared not make things difficult for her. Instead, they had to treat her with care. With such a daughter-in-law in the Wei family, the family had turned supreme in the Rivertown. Old Mo, can you drive? Asked Wang Xian to Mo Qinglong when he walked out of the villa. Yes, young master. Great, let's get a car after we're back. Wang Xian smiled as he spoke. They took a cab to Deep Sea Jewelry Building. Xiao Xian! Lan Qingwei wore a red dress today, and it was evident that she was in high spirits. A middle-aged man was following beside her. He was an uncle of Lan Qingwei. Wang Xian had seen him once at the Qing family's banquet. You look beautiful today. Wang Xian praised her with a smile. Miracle Dr. Wang, hello. Thank you for going with us. Lan Qingyue's uncle immediately walked to Wang Xian and spoke eagerly with respect. You're welcome. Wang Xian gestured with a hand and a smiling face. He looked at Lan Qingyue. How do we get there? We're heading to the international airport at Flow City. Let's go! With Lan Qingyue's leading, they reached the airport. They took a private jet of Lan family to the airport at Flow City before they transferred to the capital of Jade Nation. It will only take 3 hours from Flow City to Jade Nation. The journey is quite fast. I went there once and the scenery there was breathtaking. There are also many huge mountains. Lan Qingyue walked shoulder to shoulder with Wang Xian as she introduced Jade Nation happily to him. Oh, really? This is my first time going abroad. Wang Xian smiled and said. I went there once with my dad. There are a lot of mountains. One of them was Jade King Mountain Range. 50% of the world's jade stones came from there. It was beautiful next to the Jade King Mountain Range. They dug holes in the mountain and some reside there. Some even opened shops there. It's quite interesting. We can visit that place when the time comes, Lan Qingwei explained to him joyously. Wang Xian smiled and nodded his head. Qingwei, it's our boarding time. Let's go over. While Lan Qingwei and Wang Xian were chatting, Lan Quanfeng came over and informed them. Let's go. Lan Qingwei smiled and nodded as she headed to the first-class cabin. They boarded the plane. Wang Xian and Lan Qingwei were sitting far from each other due to a large number of people in the first-class cabin. One sat at the front, and the other one sat at the back. The first-class seats were comfortable sofas with two attached together in a row. Mo Qinglong's seat was not far away from Wang Xian, but they were not sitting next to each other. Wang Xian came to his seat while the rest of the passengers strolled into the cabin slowly. I'm sure Master will be able to cure the leader of Gordon Wei and complete his mission this time. I'm sure he can. Our Master made a breakthrough in his medical skills recently. His rank on the Miracle Doctor's chart has seen improvements. A 500 spiritual stones reward. The Gordon Wei family is really wealthy. Junior sister, this is your first time out with our Master. If you are unsure of anything, let me know. At this time, conversations and whispers were heard next to him. Wang Xian spun his head around, and he was slightly stunned to see a few young men and a pretty woman walking over. It's her? Wang Xian's face revealed a hint of surprise. Junior sister, your seat is here. Let me see if I can exchange my seat with the one beside yours. A solicitous voice was heard. Subsequently, Wang Xian heard, Hey handsome, can you swap your seat with me? Wang Xian lifted his head as he looked at the young man beside Dr. Sunday. The young man was about 27 or 28 years old. He was wearing a white shirt, and he had an extremely fair complexion. The young man asked and looked at Wang Xian at this time. Dr. Sun was left without any choice. But when she saw Wang Xian, she froze for a moment. Surprise and shock flashed in her eyes. Wang Xian put out his palm and pointed to some stuff in front of him. He declined. Sorry. Please. The young man flashed a smile and continued to be a gentleman. He took out his wallet before he pulled out a stack of $100 notes and handed them to Wang Xian. Wang Xian shook his head and smiled. Miracle Dr. Wang! At this time, Dr. Sun quickly sat in the seat beside Wang Xian and chatted with him. What a coincidence! I didn't expect to see you here. Yes. What a coincidence! Are you heading to Jade Nation too? Wang Xian asked Dr. Sun curiously. Dr. Sun was a doctor in one of the city hospitals. Previously, Dr. Sun came with some patients who were sent over by the hospitals too. However, she did not turn up in the previous 2 times. He did not ask for the reason either. Now, they actually ran into each other on a flight. From their conversations just now, it seemed like Dr. Sun had gotten herself a new master. Yes, I'm going to the Jade Nation with my master and the rest. Dr. Sun nodded with a smile. What are the chances of us meeting each other here? Wang Xian smiled and nodded his head. The white-shirt man and 2 other young men were standing next to them with a surprised look. When the white-shirt man saw Dr. Sun's surprised and zealous expressions, he put an annoyed expression on his face. He tried to get into the good book of Dr. Sun in every possible way. But she remained lukewarm to him. Yet, she displayed a zealous attitude to this young fellow and even addressed him as Miracle Dr. Wang. Junior sister, is he a doctor too? The white-shirt man asked with a darkened expression. Not any doctor could be called a miracle doctor. He is incredible. Dr. Sun rebutted him immediately. She had just gotten herself a miracle doctor as her master a few days ago. Hence, she knew nothing about the underworld. She did not even know about the miracle doctor ranking chart. All she knew was that Wang Xian was incredible. Chapter 208. No doctor could be called a miracle doctor, 2. Incredible? Is he as incredible as our master? In fact, is he even more incredible than us? The white-shirt young man revealed a disdainful expression. How incredible can a brat be? What's a miracle doctor? Only those that ranked in the top 30s on the miracle doctors chart could be called miracle doctors. As for the rest, they are at most renowned doctors. The white-shirt young man continued proudly. Junior sister, your medical skills might be great in the hospital but are still far from average in the medical circle. When you learn more about medical techniques, you will then understand what real miracle doctors are. The title of miracle doctor shouldn't be used carelessly. Only people like our master, who ranked 15 on the miracle doctors chart, are qualified to be called a miracle doctor, the white-shirt young man said to Dr. Sun in an educating tone. Dr. Sun frowned and retorted. Miracle Dr. Wang is indeed very incredible. Even the doctors from the Sacred Followers Guild are defeated by Miracle Dr. Wang in medical techniques. Seeing Dr. Sun rebut him again, the white-shirt young man replied angrily. The Sacred Followers Guild is indeed really incredible. However, they have more than 200 followers. Among them, some followers have great medical skills. However, they will at most be considered renowned doctors. Master once said that if the few of us take part in the assessment of the Sacred Followers Guild, we have a high chance of passing it. Oh! Dr. Sun swallowed her words and couldn't retort. After all, her experiences were too far from those miracle doctors or the Sacred Followers Guild. She didn't understand them well and didn't know how to rebut. I really didn't expect you to be a renowned doctor. Let's spar when we have the opportunity, the white-shirt young man said coldly to Wang Xian. It was clear that he had seen Wang Xian as a rival in love. Wang Xian maintained his smile throughout and didn't say a word. Their master ranked 15 on the Miracle Doctor's chart, while he ranked 11th. Clearly, he wasn't completely convinced of the ranking on the Miracle Doctor's chart. With his current strength, he was confident to even challenge the number 1 on the chart. However, this was only his conjecture. Those who stood at the top of the ranking chart would definitely not be simple. TSK. You are pretty arrogant to answer when one addresses you as Miracle Doctor, the white-shirt young man remarked sarcastically after seeing that Wang Xian wasn't answering him. Why aren't you guys in your seats? What are you guys standing here for? At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded from the back. An old man walked over and spoke to the group of young men. Master, it's nothing much. We are just chatting with Junior Sister and a renowned doctor. The white-shirt young man immediately bowed and explained. Oh? A doctor? The old man looked confused and turned his attention to the female disciple he had just taken in. Master, this is a very incredible doctor that I met in Rivertown. Dr. Sun could see the doubts on her master's face and immediately explained. After getting to know more about the medical circle, she didn't dare to address Wang Xian as Miracle Doctor carelessly. Just an arrogant small doctor who claims to be a miracle doctor. The white-shirt young man standing by the side quickly added. One should really not claim to be a miracle doctor rashly. The old man nodded his head slowly. The title of miracle doctor represents the cream of the crop in the medical realm. Any rascal who impersonates a miracle doctor will suffer a terrible death. Rascal! When the white-shirt young man heard his master, he looked at Wang Xian mockingly. Guanghua. At this moment, Wang Xian recalled the name when he saw the old man. Huh! The old man was taken aback and looked at Wang Xian in surprise. The white-shirt young man also looked at Wang Xian with surprise. Brat, you are not qualified to call my master by the name. Rivertown? Wang Xian? Miracle Dr. Wang? The old man pondered and tried to probe further. It's my honor to meet you. Wang Xian smiled faintly and nodded his head. He clearly knew about the Miracle Doctor's chart, as he had gone through the top 30 on the chart. Guanghua, 65 years old, a factionless doctor. A factionless doctor was similar to what Wang Xian was at this moment. They were not affiliated to any forces. On the Miracle Doctor's chart, factionless doctors were few. The Sacred Followers Guild and Medical Saints sect took up 80% of the Miracle Doctor's chart. This was also why the two saint sects were so strong. Guanghua had been a traveling doctor since the 1970s and 1980s. He had been to the majority of the country by feet. During the journey, his medical skills achieved a breakthrough and he had reached the 15th spot on the Miracle Doctor's chart. One would consider him to be a miracle doctor with a unique background. Wang Xian had a lot of respect for him. Sorry for not recognizing you. I had not expected to meet Miracle Dr. Wang here. Miracle Dr. Guanghua immediately greeted him and started observing this absurdly young Miracle Dr. Wang. He was still rather curious about a 20-year-old juvenile who had made it to the 11th spot on the ranking chart. The interests were exacerbated by the fact that Wang Xian seemed to be a factionless doctor too. Bai Song, is this how you should talk to Miracle Dr. Wang? Where are your manners? Apologize to him immediately. Miracle Dr. Guanghua looked at his disciple and chided him. The white-shirt young man was stunned as he stared at Wang Xian in disbelief. Suddenly, he felt a chill down his spine. Recalling the recent news on Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown, fear started welling up. Miracle Dr. Wang, I'm really sorry. It's my fault that I did not recognize a distinguished person like you. Please forgive me. Wang Xian simply waved his hand at him, and didn't pay attention to him after. A petty person like him wasn't worth his time. What a coincidence, Miracle Dr. Wang. Xiao Xiu, go and sit at my seat. I'd like to have a good chat with Miracle Dr. Wang. Yes, Master. Dr. Sun was dumbfounded. She immediately stood up and left. The white-shirt young man also went to his seat immediately. His eyes would turn to where Wang Xian was from time to time. That white-shirt young man's forehead was covered with perspiration. Under no circumstance would he have expected that juvenile to be the 11th-ranked Miracle Dr. Wang who was in the limelight recently. This was a ranking even higher than his master. Recalling what he had done and what he had just said, he felt a chill down his spine once again. Senior brother, is Miracle Dr. Wang famous? Dr. Sun sat in her master's seat and asked inquisitively. The white-shirt young man didn't answer. His face had turned as white as a sheet. The other young man sitting beside him nodded his head bitterly. He's incredible, and he currently ranked 11th on the Miracle Doctor's chart. Even higher than our master? Dr. Sun's eyes popped open as he looked to Wang Xian in admiration. Miracle Dr. Wang has also accepted the mission from the leader of Gordon Wei? Miracle Dr. Guanghua asked. Nope, I don't know about this mission. Could Miracle Dr. Guanghua shed some light on it? Wang Xian shook his head and asked. Hee. Sure. This is an open mission in the underworld and everyone can see it. The leader of Gordon Wei, Jade Nation, ran into some issues while cultivating. Jade Nation has always been behind in the medical field. Therefore, he invited miracle doctors from all over the world to treat him. As long as you rank in the top 100 in the world's miracle doctors chart, you will get 10 pieces of spiritual stone even if you can't cure him. If you can cure him, the reward will be 500 pieces of spiritual stone. I've brought my disciples along to give it a try. Chapter 209, Gathering of Miracle Doctors, 1. After Miracle Dr. Guanghua's explanation, Wang Xian finally understood the entire mission completely. The leader of Gordon Wei led a significant family in Jade Nation. They were considered to be powerful and mighty in the Jade Nation. The leader of Gordon Wei was an inborn expert. Something went wrong during his cultivation, so he was seeking medical treatment from the miracle doctors around the world. Jade Nation was only a small and poor country. The Gordon Wei family possessed 3 to 4 inborn experts. Hence, they were a colossus in the Jade Nation. As they were situated at the Jade King mountain range, they were rich, especially with spiritual stones. All the spiritual stones were dug out from the stone mines. They were generous to give away 10 spiritual stones to those top 100 doctors from the global ranking who made a trip here. If the doctors were to sell the spiritual stones, they could easily fetch a price of $100 million. Gordon Wei family had deep pockets. I heard that many domestic miracle doctors took up this mission. After all, 500 spiritual stones were quite attractive. said Miracle Dr. Guanghua with a beaming face. Wang Xian nodded in agreement. Getting spiritual stones was difficult. Not everyone possessed a strength like Maniac Ji who could earn spiritual stones at such a fast rate. It was not easy for an average level 7 to 9 martial artist to earn a piece of spiritual stone. Miracle Doctor was considered to be one of the highest paying occupations. Miracle Dr. Wang, why don't you join us for fun since you're here? Even if you can't treat him, you will at least get 10 spiritual stones as a consolation prize. Miracle Dr. Guanghua said with a smile. Sure. Wang Xian nodded his head slowly. 500 spiritual stones was attractive enough for him to work. Haha, we'll be going over. At that time, we can take a look at the top doctors from the world. Miracle Dr. Guanghua said, smiling. Wang Xian nodded and began to chit-chat with Miracle Dr. Guanghua. Perhaps Miracle Dr. Guanghua did not have many interactions with miracle doctors that were of the same level as him. Hence, he was rather chatty. Wang Xian also liked his personality. As such, both of them had a great time chatting. The plane took off, heading to Jade Nation. 3 hours later, the plane landed at the international airport of Jade Nation's capital. Qingwei, I want to tell you something. Wang Xian came to Lan Qingwei and said apologetically. What is it? Lan Qingwei looked at him with doubts. I probably can't keep you company for today and tomorrow. I've got something going on. Wang Xian scratched his head as he spoke. Her? Lan Qingwei looked at him with consternation. Just now, I met Miracle Dr. Guanghua, ranked 15th on the Miracle Doctor's chart. He took a mission, and I wanted to check it out with him. So, you're really unreliable. Lan Qingwei interrupted his words as she rolled her eyes at him with a sulky face. I'm going to earn some money. I'll look for you as soon as I'm done, and I'll bring you some top-grade jade stones. Wang Xian immediately promised. Fine. Lan Qingwei pouted and nodded. He. Wang Xian let out an awkward smile as he walked Lan Qingwei out of the airport and waved to her. Miracle Dr. Guanghua, let's go! Wang Xian came to Miracle Dr. Guanghua and said, A car sent by Gordon Wei is waiting for us outside. Miracle Dr. Guanghua nodded as he took the lead. The white-shirt young man who was following behind saw Wang Xian tagging along. Hence, he was well behaved and did not dare to utter a word. 2 luxury vehicles were waiting outside of the airport. Wang Xian, together with Mo Qinglong, got in the car. Instead of the city center, the car traveled towards the mountains in the distance. Just like what Lan Qingwei had mentioned, Jade Nation had many towering and magnificent mountains. There were endless mountains along the way. This is Jade King Mountain Range, which stretches for a few hundred kilometers. It is the largest mountain in Jade Nation. All the jade stones in Jade Nation were mined from this mountain. The Gordon Wei family is located just beside Jade King Mountain Range. Miracle Dr. Guanghua introduced this place to Wang Xian, as he had some knowledge of it. The scenery is extravagant here. Wang Xian looked at the surroundings with smiles. Miracle Dr. Guanghua chuckled. The caves that they reside in are more interesting. After a 30-minute ride, the cars stopped beside a green mountain in the Jade King Mountain Range. Please follow me. The driver got out of the vehicle and led the way before them. Wang Xian followed him as he looked ahead. It was a large village with a stone at the entrance engraved with some Jade Nation words on it. At the entrance, 5 young men were standing there with guns in their hands. The leader of Gordon Wei was holding a general position in Jade Nation. Hence, they had troops stationed at this place. Upon entering, it was a small village. Their dressing was much of the same as the people in China. They followed the driver to a huge mountain. Wang Xian noticed that the entire mountain had been excavated with windows on the outside, just like ordinary buildings. Not many people in Jade Nation reside in the caves of Jade King Mountain Range. Only a few significant families and businessmen carry on with this type of lifestyle. Upon seeing Wang Xian's curious look, Miracle Dr. Guanghua explained to him. Wang Xian nodded and went into the mountain. There was a huge hall, about 1,000 square meters in size. The interior was decorated to give a luxurious vibe. Pieces of beast's fur were hung up on the wall as ornaments. But the lighting appliances were all in modern style. The entire hall gave an alternative aesthetic. Tsk tisk, it's indeed the top family in the country. Wang Xian swept his gaze around and exclaimed slightly. The cave houses of Jade Nation were comparable to the castles in Europe. At this moment, quite a number of people were gathered in the hall. They were all seated around in chairs. Wang Xian looked around. He noticed that not only Asians were here, but there were also Europeans and Americans. Poison Doc is here too! A shocked voice came out from the mouth of Miracle Dr. Guanghua. Wang Xian looked over and saw a scrawny old man sitting on the sofa. A black, poisonous snake was couching on his hand, which made him look frightening. Poison Doc! Wang Xian thought of the Miracle Doctor ranked 9th on the Miracle Doctor chart. Poison Doc Yen Shi was an elder of the Sacred Followers Guild. Not only was he proficient in medical skills, but he also possessed inborn strength. There is Miracle Doctor Blood Man from Europe. But I'm not sure of who that is. That's Holy Priest from the Holy Sect. His medical skills must be known as strong to become a Holy Priest. The Miracle Doctor Yin Yang from Island Country is here too. Looks like we have lots of compelling characters gathered here. Miracle Dr. Guanghua swept his gaze around with a surprised look. Wang Xian looked over and traced all the Miracle Doctors one by one. Blood Man of Europe was similar to a vampire. They could enhance their strength with the energy from fresh blood. The Miracle Doctor Yin Yang from Island Country was a Yin and Yang master, originating from China. The skills were developed and expanded in the Island Country. Miracle Doctor Yin Yang was a renowned doctor over there. The 500 spiritual stones were really attractive. Wang Xian looked around him and pondered to himself. However, Wang Xian was determined to get those 500 spiritual stones. Chapter 210 Gathering of Miracle Doctors 2. Let me express my gratitude to all miracle doctors from all around the world for gathering at Gordonway. Wang Xian and Miracle Dr. Guanghua sat in the chairs and waited for more than half an hour. Finally, a middle-aged man walked out and expressed his gratitude to the crowd. Just as the middle-aged man finished his sentence, a middle-aged Caucasian shouted, "Let's skip the pleasantries! Bring us to the leader of Gordonway. We have prepared a banquet for everyone. In that case, let's push that back. However, we will be giving out part of the remuneration first." The middle-aged man wasn't angered by the middle-aged Caucasian at all. Instead, he clapped his hands as he remarked, "Those that had come were miracle doctors from all over the world. Some of these miracle doctors had strength that wasn't inferior to the Gordonway family. Therefore, they weren't acting too deferentially. Naturally, as a powerful and influential force, the wealth of the Gordonway family wasn't something that the miracle doctors could possibly match. Various beautiful ladies carried a plate and walked towards the crowd of miracle doctors. On each plate, there was a bag with 10 pieces of spiritual stones in it. After getting part of the remuneration, all the other miracle doctors were clearly looking more patient. "Since everyone is so anxious, follow me," the middle-aged man said to the crowd. There were a total of 15 miracle doctors. If their disciples or subordinates were included, there were a total of more than 40 people. The crowd followed behind the middle-aged man. "Pervert!" At this moment, Wang Xian heard a very soft voice from his side. He was slightly shocked and looked to Dr. Sun, who was beside her, immediately. He saw Dr. Sun frown and look at the two people beside her with disdain. Wang Xian followed her gaze and noticed that the pale-looking middle-aged Caucasian was staring fervently at Dr. Sunday. At the other end, an old man was frowning and staring at Dr. Sun intensely. The first man was Miracle Dr. Blood Man, and the second man was Holy Priest. Wang Xian was confused. Logically speaking, considering their status, even if Dr. Sun was extremely alluring, they shouldn't be staring at her so intensely. He looked at Dr. Sun but didn't find anything strange. "Everyone, please come in." At this moment, the crowd passed through a tunnel and entered a cave. This was clearly a cave for cultivation. In the cave, an old man was sitting in the center. Within the cave, thousands of spiritual stones were embedded in the surroundings. All the miracle doctors who stepped into the cave were shocked to witness this. The cave was extremely warm. It was at least 40 degrees Celsius. Within the cave, the most eye-catching thing was a pangolin beside the old man. This was a pangolin that was close to 3 meters long. It had bright red scales and emitted savage vibes. "Thank you, everyone, for coming." The old man opened his eyes slowly and looked at the surrounding crowd. "Greetings, leader of Gordonway." The surrounding miracle doctors greeted the old man. The old man in front of them was an extremely strong and born expert. As the leader of the top family in Jade Nation, his strength wasn't something that an ordinary inborn expert could match. "Everyone! I'm sure you guys know about my condition. I'd like to invite you to take a look right now," the leader of Gordonway said slowly. "Let me go first," the 21st ranked miracle doctor on the domestic miracle doctors chart said. "Please." The leader of Gordonway nodded his head. "Excuse me for my intrusion." That middle-aged miracle doctor nodded his head. As he waved his arm, a silver thread flew out and wrapped around the wrist of the old man. The leader of Gordonway did not dodge and simply allowed himself to be caught by the silver thread. The middle-aged man placed a finger on the silver and shut his eyes slightly. Soon he frowned. The silver thread extended and wrapped around the body of the leader of Gordonway gradually. However, after going around him twice, he still did not discover any abnormalities. The middle-aged man was clearly disappointed. "Please pardon my incompetence. I'm unable to help." Silver thread inspection technique of the 21st ranked miracle doctor can accurately detect various kinds of injuries. It's surprising that he couldn't detect any abnormalities. Miracle Dr. Guanghua let out a silent sigh. Silver thread inspection was an extremely powerful ability in the medical techniques of China. Dr. Sun was stunned by what she had seen. Such unbelievable techniques had truly opened her horizons. "Let me give it a try." Seeing that the middle-aged man had backed down, Holy Priest walked ahead with a wooden rod in his hand. Waving his wooden rod, pure white energy entered the body of the leader of Gordonway. The Holy Priest frowned and commented, "My light hasn't detected any darkness. The leader of Gordonway should be. That's what many other miracle doctors have said." The leader of Gordonway looked up to the Holy Priest. His eyes were clearly fatigued as he commented, "Whenever I cultivate, I will sense my internal energy going berserk. In fact, I have to constantly restrict the powers in my body right now." That Holy Priest frowned and shook his head. After this, he backed down. What many people did not notice was that when the Holy Priest released his light, Dr. Sun's body shimmered. "Let me give it a try, hee." The pale-looking middle-aged Caucasian took a step forward. Moving his finger, blood that emitted a black aura appeared in his hand. "I'll have to trouble the leader of Gordonway to open your mouth." The leader of Gordonway nodded his head. He knew about the treatment technique of Miracle Dr. Bloodman. The blood that emitted a black aura entered the old man's body through the mouth. Soon it entered his heart and into every part of his blood vessels. "Huh!" The middle-aged Miracle Dr. Bloodman frowned. He stretched his hand forward and the blood flew out from the mouth of the leader of Gordonway. Miracle Dr. Bloodman shook his head, clearly looking disappointed. Following which, another 5 to 6 miracle doctors stood out and exhibited their unique skills. However, everyone ended frowning. No one had discovered where the issue was. If they couldn't even identify the source of the illness, how were they going to devise a treatment method? The leader of Gordonway wasn't looking great. Miracle Dr. Guanghua gave it a try, but the attempt turned out to be futile. In the end, only Wang Xian, the 8th-ranked poison doc, and Miracle Dr. Yingyang from Japan were left. "Let me give it a try." The poison doc took 2 steps forward. The black poisonous snake that was wrapped around him lifted its head and started hissing. "SSSSSSSSS." The poisonous snake leaped and jumped beside the old man who was 3 meters away. As it stuck out its tongue, its blood-red eyes stared constantly at the leader of Gordonway. "Poison Doc from China, I have long heard of you," the old man said to the poison document. That's just a superficial name. Poison Doc replied emotionlessly while keeping his eyes on his poisoned snake. SSSSSS. The black poisonous snake went around the old man. Suddenly, its vision shifted to the pangolin. SSSSSS. Suddenly, the pangolin stuck out its tongue and emitted a horrifying aura. SSSSSS. The black poisonous snake was shocked and slithered back to the poison dock in fear. Xiao Jia, don't move, the old man said gently to the pangolin. SSS. The crowd gasped and looked at the pangolin in shock. The aura it emitted in that instant was that of an inborn expert. The poison doc looked a little embarrassed and shook his head helplessly. China's medical techniques are only so. A mocking voice sounded which irked Poison Doc and Miracle Dr. Guanghua. Wang Xian wasn't paying attention to the mockery. Within his eyes, blue and red light alternated. His eyes shifted to a direction as he revealed a faint smile. Victory was in his hands. Chapter 211, Conspiracy 1. The art of yin and yang originated from China. The so-called miracle Dr. Yin Yang was relying on our ancestors' skills. Humph, you're from a small country. Even King Sanhe would not dare to be brazen. How dare Qi Shi, who is ranked only 49th on the global ranking, speak gibberish here? Poison Doc, Guanghua and the rest of the miracle doctors looked coldly at the miracle Dr. Yin Yang from the island country. Tisk, Poison Doc is ranked 31, and my ranking is 49. But looks like someone claimed a higher position without any strength today. Miracle Dr. Yin Yang spoke sarcastically. He turned to look at the leader of Gordon Wei. Since the 5 to 6 Chinese miracle doctors can't identify the source of the illness, I guess you can only leave this to me. Her? Miracle Dr. Yin Yang, you've got a solution? The leader of Gordon Wei looked at the miracle Dr. Yin Yang, who was full of confidence, with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. All the miracle doctors stared at miracle Dr. Yin Yang with doubts on their faces. Poison Doc, Guanghua and the rest watched with darkened expressions. I'm 80% confident. Miracle Dr. Yin Yang exhibited a confident look. He swept his gaze across Poison Doc, Guanghua and the rest. With a swing, a gust of black and white air darted out from a bell. The black and white stream of gas flew towards the leader of Gordon Wei. Her? Everyone observed the cloud of black and white fog doubtfully. Slowly, the black and white fog encompassed the leader of Gordon Wei. Leader of Gordon Wei, please keep a distance away from your pangolin. The heat energy emitted from its body will greatly affect my yin-yang cloud. After all, that pangolin is an inborn animal. Miracle Dr. Yin Yang instructed leader of Gordon Wei nonchalantly. Okay. He nodded. Xiao Jia, go to that corner. SSSS. The 3-meter-sized pangolin nodded its head just like a human. It then went to a corner and kept still. Boundless yin and yang expel evil spirits. Miracle Dr. Yin Yang let out a soft bellow, and the cloud of black and white fog spun slowly around the leader of Gordon Wei. I studied a little on the art of yin and yang. According to historical records, Miracle Dr. Yin Yang will use rituals, talismans, and chantings to get rid of evil spirits. This is the first time I've heard of the yin-yang clouds. Poison Doc Yin, she stared at the cloud of black and white air with flickering eyes. Humph, ignorant people. What do you know about my medical skills? She scorned at Poison Doc and continued. Today, I'll show you bunch of ignorant fellows. Ha! The yin-yang cloud spun rapidly at this time. This scene was much more spectacular than the means displayed by those miracle doctors just now. My internal energy is no longer in unrest. Ha ha ha, I no longer need to suppress my internal energy. Just when everyone was in disbelief, the leader of Gordon Wei, who was in the clouds, exclaimed excitedly. He stood up immediately and looked at Qi Shi with thrills. Thank you, Miracle Dr. Qi Shi. You actually suppressed my internal energy for me. Can you provide a permanent remedy? How is it possible? Guanghua, Poison Doc, and the rest of the people were shocked. This miracle Dr. Yin Yang actually found treatment through this way. The rest of the miracle doctors gazed at Chi-Shi with surprises. "Haha, no one can match my medical skills." Chi-Shi stared at them with a cold but arrogant face. He turned to the leader of Gordon Way and chuckled. "Sir, give me another 10 days. I'll be able to cure your illness permanently." "Great!" The Gordon Way old man was elated. "You have saved my life. I'll never forget your kindness, and I'll reward you handsomely for this." "Haha, you're welcome." Chi-Shi laughed out loud as he turned to look at Poison Doc and the rest of the people. "I told you all. The Chinese miracle doctors are SOSO. Haha. Poison Doc, Guanhua and the rest were looking grumpy. But on the other side, Wang Xian gave a creepy smile. He did not that expect this mission would involve a conspiracy. He gazed meaningfully at Chi-Shi, but he did not expose him right away. "Miracle Dr. Chi-Shi, must I stay in the yin-yang clouds all the time?" asked the leader of Gordon Way respectfully with smiles. "No. I'll paste something on you." Miracle Dr. Chi-Shi shook his head as he took out pieces of a weird-looking talisman. He then walked to the leader of Gordon Way and pasted them on him. These talismans could temporarily keep your illness under control. You should never take this down. Chi-Shi warned the leader of Gordon Way. "Don't worry, Miracle Dr. Chi-Shi. No one can take it down without my permission," the leader of Gordon Way said with a beaming face. "All right, you're free to move now." Chi-Shi had smiles all over his face. He took out the bell and kept the yin-yang clouds. "Haha, I really recovered." Since the leader of Gordon Way could move his body freely, he could not help but laugh out loud. "Thank you, Chi-Shi Miracle Doctor. I would also like to extend my gratitude to the rest of the miracle doctors too. Today, I'll play a good host to all of you, and I'll send you off tomorrow. Since the leader of Gordon Way is cured, it's a load off our minds." "That's right. We're glad that you're recovering well. We're incompetent, but luckily, we've got Miracle Dr. Chi-Shi." Miracle Dr. Chi-Shi was impressive. "I believe you'll improve your ranking tremendously on the chart from today onwards." One by one, the miracle doctors congratulated the leader of Gordon Way and Miracle Dr. Chi-Shi. Poison Doc, Guanhua, and the rest of the Chinese doctors wore awful looks on their faces. They had the highest number of Chinese miracle doctors here on this trip. Even the Poison Doc, ranking 9th, was present. In the end, the leader was cured by a miracle doctor from the island country. Such a disgrace. "Let's go. It's getting late. I've gotten my people to get dinner ready," the leader of Gordon Way exclaimed happily. All of the people followed the leader of Gordon Way to the banquet cave. There were singing and dancing performances with wine and food. Miracle Dr. Chi-Shi, no doubt, had become the most attention-grabbing figure in the dinner. Most of the miracle doctors went up to him to curry favors. Even the leader of Gordon Way gave a toast to him with joy. "Humph, the art of yin and yang originated from China. He used our medical skills to cure the leader of Gordon Way, and yet, he spoke impudently to us. What a villain!" Guanhua drank a glass of wine angrily. Some of the Chinese miracle doctors also darkened their expressions. "Why didn't Miracle Dr. Wang give it a shot just now?" asked Poison Doc Yanxi all of a sudden as he held the body of a poisonous snake that licked the wine in the glass. "Hee, I'm not that proficient yet." Wang Xian shook his head and smiled. Miracle Dr. Wang could even cripple Fang Huazi's arms, leaving all the miracle doctors and Sacred Followers Guild with no solutions. "I think you're proficient enough." Poison Doc looked at Wang Xian and threw him a faint smile as he spoke. Chapter 212, Conspiracy 2. "Oh?" Wang Xian looked to Poison Doc and asked plainly. "Poison Doc wants to stand up for Fang Huazi?" "Haha! I'm not that free. Furthermore, his arms were crippled because he lost in a challenge he initiated. He's too full of himself. However, I'd just like to inform you that Fang Huazi has a master." Poison Doc laughed heartily. "Thank you, Senior Poison Doc, for your reminder." Wang Xian was taken aback but nodded his head with a faint smile. "The Sacred Followers Guild is much better than the Medical Saint Sect. Poison Doc made a baffling statement casually. Wang Xian smiled and didn't say a word. He lifted his wine cup. Come, come, come! Miracle doctors from China! Although you guys didn't do a thing, I'll still give a toast to you guys. At this moment, Shishi carried a cup, walked over proudly and laughed loudly. No one was paying attention to him. Poison Doc was silently playing with his black poisonous snake. Guanghua was enjoying his wine and the other few miracle doctors were conversing softly. There's a saying in China which goes along the line of this: when one reaches a certain level, he can be a tutor for the rest. There shouldn't be a geographical distinction in the medical world. It seems like you guys are still too petty, commented Shishi sarcastically. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. At this moment, the leader of Gordon Way also walked in with a cup of wine in his hand. Lifting it, he announced, Let Miracle Dr. Shishi and I give a toast to everyone. Hee hee. Shishi, who was standing beside, lifted his cup at the crowd with a sarcastic expression. Thank you, leader of Gordon Way, for the warm welcome. Poison Doc, Guanghua, Wang Xian and the crowd stood up and lifted their cups. This young miracle doctor looks a little familiar. I didn't see you attempt previously. It must have been really easy to get these spiritual stones. When Shishi saw Wang Xian, he smiled. If I act, someone's going to lose his life, said Wang Xian emotionlessly to Shishi. Haha, this is interesting. To be able to become a miracle doctor at such a young age, it seems like the medical circle in China has really fallen back. Shishi laughed sarcastically as he shook his head and walked towards the crowd. The leader of Gordon Way took a glance at Wang Xian and didn't say a word. After a simple nod, he left. Wang Xian looked at Shishi and his lips curved into a smile. The banquet wasn't lengthy and ended in an hour plus. Several service attendants brought the guests to their own personal rooms. The rooms were within a stone cave. However, the interior was luxurious. Soon, Emo Qinglong entered and reported to Wang Xian. Young master, the leader of Gordon Way has returned to that cultivation cave. Shishi has also left that place. Let's head over then. It's really not easy to earn these 500 pieces of spiritual stones. I will have to ask for a pay increase from Gordon Way. Wang Xian smiled and stood up before walking towards the cave, where the leader of Gordon Way was, with Emo Qinglong. With the strength of them, they easily avoided the patrolling guards and arrived at the entrance of the cave. Pa! Wang Xian didn't attempt to hide. His footsteps immediately alerted the leader from Gordon Way who was sitting in the middle of the cave. Huh! The leader of Gordon Way opened his eyes and stared at Wang Xian and Emo Qinglong. May I know why you are here at this hour? It's all because of those spiritual stones. Wang Xian saw a talisman on the leader of Gordon Way and walked directly to him. Huh! Stop right there! Seeing Wang Xian walking directly towards him, the leader of Gordon Way chided solemnly. SSSSSS. At this moment, the pangolin in the corner got up and headed towards Wang Xian slowly with a vicious look. I'm here to save the leader of Gordon Way. Wang Xian stared at the pangolin that was walking towards him and released his aura. SSSSSSSSS. The pangolin was petrified and retreated in horror. What? The leader of Gordon Way was shocked and stared at Wang Xian in disbelief. His companion was an inborn existence, and yet it was petrified with a single look. This was simply impossible. Wang Xian grinned and continued walking towards the leader of Gordon Way. You must be courting your own death. This is the territory of the Gordon Way family. The leader of Gordon Way stood up and emitted a strong aura. Don't worry, we are here to help. Emo Qinglong saw a gust of aura charging towards them. With a wave of his hand, he blocked it off. Inborn expert. The leader of Gordon Way became vigilant in an instant and stared closely at Wang Xian and Emo Qinglong. I'm here to save you. Otherwise, you wouldn't even know when others have killed you. Wang Xian walked in front of the leader of Gordon Way and reached for the talisman on his body. Huh! The leader of Gordon Way was shocked. Seeing Wang Xian lift his hands, he immediately put on his guard. However, To his astonishment, dense droplets of water appeared and swept away the talisman on his body. The talisman broke into pieces after being immersed in water. The leader of Gordonway was horrified as a chill went down his spine. He couldn't even withstand a strike from the young man in front of him when he was at the peak of the inborn realm. However, he quickly recovered and looked blankly at the talisman on the floor. How is this possible? What's the matter? Wang Xian smiled and signaled to the pangolin. SSSSSS. The pangolin stared at Wang Xian in fear. The stifling pressure he felt from Wang Xian a while ago completely petrified him. The pangolin hesitated for a while before crawling over. Arg! Just as the pangolin approached, the leader of Gordonway let out a shriek in pain. He immediately sat on the floor and started suppressing the pain. SSSSSS. The pangolin immediately came to the side of the leader of Gordonway and used its tongue to lick his body. Get back to the corner. After he released his aura once again, the pangolin felt a stifling pressure and scampered to the corner in a hurry. At this moment, the strange feelings on the body of the leader of Gordonway also dissipated. What is this about? The leader of Gordonway lifted his head suddenly and looked bitterly at the pangolin. You aren't sick at all, but there's something wrong with it. Wang Xian pointed to the pangolin in the corner. Wang Xian had attempted to use his piercing eye to check out the injuries on the leader of Gordonway in the afternoon. Under the supervision of the piercing eye, everything could be seen as energy. He noticed faint energy emitted from the pangolin that was being absorbed by the leader of Gordonway. This source of energy was the source of his illness. You are saying there's something wrong with Xiao Jia? The leader of Gordonway asked bitterly. It was clear that someone did something to the pangolin and must be using another method to slowly control you. Wang Xian explained. The leader of Gordonway clenched his fist tightly. Taking a glance at the pangolin in the corner, he walked slowly towards it. Instantly, the feeling of losing control could be felt once again. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.